Westmoreland. We do not have a quorum, but we can proceed with a few items. We are joined by Councilmember Juan and Councilmember Amos, incoming chair, Councilmember Amos. So congratulations to him. And we'll have a quorum shortly, but we can go ahead and host public comment. Do we have any speakers signed up today? And while we're waiting, today's agenda will feature 3 reports: a report from Aviation, a report from ATL DOT, and a report from Councilmember Westmoreland on happenings at the ARC. And we've been joined by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits. Welcome, which gives us a quorum. I will move to adopt the agenda. Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
Waits is aye.
The vote is open.
Waits is aye.
The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
I will now move to adopt the minutes. Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Waits is aye.
The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
All right, we'll move to public comment. Do we have any speakers signed up today? Oh, there it is. Our first speaker is Chris Lloyd. Please approach the podium, and you will have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here to speak about Resolution 23R 4648. I am a 32-year resident of the Kelso at Peyton community. This resolution references that subdivision and the problems that we are having within our subdivision. I have photos, if anyone wants to view them, that show the conditions of our street. And I only have one copy, so I would love to get it back.
Sure, we'll pass it around and
Okay,
get it back.
thank you. Our big issue is that when the subdivision was built in 1989, there were some parts of our street that are clearly marked City of Atlanta. And through the years, the street has been almost destroyed by the weight of the sanitation vehicles that come into there. We've made numerous requests to the city to send in smaller trucks, but those requests were denied. And now our street is collapsing, and we also have a damaged infrastructure. We're in dire need of action to correct the street issues before further damage occurs, and more importantly, before someone is injured. Approving this resolution would grant us relief from the damaged street and would give us enhanced police and fire services that are provided to other tax-paying citizens of the City of Atlanta. We deserve services that are commensurate with the level of increasing taxes that we are required to pay. We deserve to have this resolution approved as longtime tax-paying residents of the City of Atlanta. And we want to thank you for considering our plight. There are several of us here representing our communities. Some don't live directly within our community, but we all have an interest because we're all connected.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joseph Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me these few moments. I'll be brief. I'm here in support of Resolution 23-R-4648. And I'm here because of public safety concerns, quality of life concerns, and to give respect to longtime residents who are taxpayers of this city. I am also this community is in part a member of the Charlotte Payton Community Association, of which I've served as the president and their officer. And we support this resolution to this committee to accept the dedication of the streets located within Kessel Payton subdivision to provide for the enhanced response from the Atlanta Fire Department and the Atlanta Police Department, and to facilitate the necessary repair to the streets and infrastructure and for other purposes. Your positive consideration for this resolution would be highly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Our next speaker is Jacqueline Rhodes.
Good morning. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. My name is Jackie Rose, and I am Vice President of the Chalet Payton Woods Community Association. Over the years, I have observed the deterioration of the streets made by large trucks, Atlanta City garbage and recycled trucks going in and out of the neighborhood. These heavy trucks have caused parts of the streets to collapse. During a heavy rainstorm, there has been flooding. The accumulation of water over a period of time can cause sinkholes to develop. The deterioration of the states of the road is affecting the overall quality of life in our neighborhood. As taxpayers and as concerned residents, we believe it is crucial to address this issue promptly. The damaged streets not only impact our daily commutes, but also have a negative impact on the property values and the overall appeal of the neighborhoods. So I strongly urge you to approve the resolution that is being brought forth by Councilwoman Andrea Boone to adopt this street and help improve the quality of life for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. Our next speaker is Joanne Jenkins.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here. It's only a few of us, but we're the faithful few. So we have complaints and concerns in the same neighborhood. I'm in the same neighborhood, Chalet Payton. And my only concern really was a street leading into our subdivision that's band-aided and looking bad, and it's like an obstacle course. So it's hard to get down to our neighborhood to come down another street, which is Payton Place. In front of my house, there's a raised asphalt to get into my driveway. Between that asphalt and the gutter, the asphalt sits up this high from it. So when I go into my driveway, my car is dragging the ground right there. So now, it's been there for years, but now the asphalt has broken and it's all chipped up and it's crumbling. So when I go in or out of the driveway, my car kind of scrapes the ground. So my concern is having that fixed as well as the other streets in our neighborhood to make it better for us, better for our families, people that are visiting. I don't know what could be done about the trash trucks coming because we need to have someone come and pick up our trash. But having those heavy, heavy trucks come through, the roads are cracking, the asphalt's cracking, the cement is cracking. So it puts us in danger with our cars and losing control of our cars when we hit one of these bumps or one of these raggedy parts of the street. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Dwan Robinson. You have two folks who yielded time to you, you'll have up to 9 minutes.
Good morning, Board. Mr. Chair, thank you. And congratulations once again for the birth of your child. Thank you. I know some things are more important, than others when it comes to family. That's ultimately important. And I also would like to thank you for being so gracious to allow minutes to be yielded, no matter how much I come down here and scream and yell and say whatever. You haven't changed your disposition, so I do appreciate that. So a year in review, we started talking about the airport and the mismanagement of how they treat people and how they spend money and just think they're above reproach. And I commend you guys for coming down here, standing up for your community. That's what it's all about, holding people accountable and standing up for what we believe in. So as we look back, when I first started coming down in March and April, talking about our general manager and John Farrell and this situation that's going on at the airport, we've noticed that before we started speaking on this, for almost 2 years, Ms. John Farrell was at every meeting, Mr. Alex Wan. And once we started talking about it, she'd only come to one meeting. And it have come to my attention, and we're trying to still verify that she's been asked to relieve all her duties back to Mr. Bill Doerr, which she should not have never had in the first place, Ms. Overstreet, because she's not the senior deputy general manager. Mr. Michael Smith is, but for some reason, Mr. Michael Smith don't have the responsibilities that someone who just got hired in that position, and once again, we go back, who was not qualified to be in that position. And so I just hope in the new year that we don't embarrass our administration. If we believe our mayor is working hard and trying to turn this city around, and the airport is still giving the city a black eye, which it has been giving it for some time now, because for some reason, we can't seem to get the right leadership out there. They tend to be self-serving and not qualified to be in a position and relinquish the duties to those who are also not qualified and that's making bad decisions at the airport. Also in the new year, I hope that we have the courage to ask the airport when they're gonna pay their $2 million water bill to the city. We have to pay our water bill, but the general manager in the airport don't have to pay their outstanding $2-3 million balance at the airport. So I just hope that we have the courage to just ask them, because once again, Ms. Waits, a whole year have gone by, nobody have asked the airport, and Mr. Warren is over finance, and I don't think he've ever asked his friends when they plan on paying the city. I mean, they got billions of dollars they got from COVID, but they still decide to just not pay their bill. They just do what they want to do out there, and we can't have that. You know what I'm saying? Because our former mayor in the 50th year that we're in Maynard Jackson, I'm sure he's somewhere rolling over in his grave by the behavior of the airport all these years and the current airport administration. Once again, who was told a no on the Mayor Reed and on the Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. John Farrell and Bill Doerr was turned down for their positions. Mr. Watman Morton, they was told a no. But for some reason, they were appointed to these positions and they should have not been. And we got to look at this very seriously, because the airport is our heartbeat of the city. So there's no reason these last year or so that airport security has failed us. All the problems we're having at the airport have failed us because, once again, Ms. John Farrell have been in charge of all of this, and they have fired a lot of people that should not have been fired. And in result of that, we see the airport has declined tremendously, but we still saying we winning awards at the best airport. But our airport is, we all fly. It's terrible. And we're not even talking about the long lines. We're talking about the operation part of it. It's terrible, but nobody wants to hold these people accountable. Y'all let them get up here and show these fancy reports and tell lies, and we don't hold them accountable. I mean, we've caught our law department, the head, Nina Hicks, we've caught them in lies, and when they get scrambled, they want to go into executive session. They want to talk about it instead of letting the public hear. I mean, we got to stop that. I hope in the new year moving forward that we stop letting them off the hook. When they're caught with their hands down, they want to go into executive session. And then we have a reporter back here, Ms. Kelly Yamaguchi, who writes for AJC, always telling one-side stories from the airport. Never get both sides of the story. The airport, they get to feed her whatever she wants, and she writes it, and then the citizens of Atlanta get to read the AJC, and they think that, oh, this is the real story. No, the airport feeds them the story, and she go out and write it, but she's supposed to be a professional journalism who come from Harvard. I know Harvard didn't teach her that. So she is also self-serving, also have ambition to go higher, you know what I'm saying, without doing proper journalism. So we just have to hold these people accountable and just understand that Atlanta, we are too good for that. We got to put all those misquote, I'm saying city too busy to hate. There's a lot of hating going on in Atlanta, and we know that there's a lot of cliquism going on in Atlanta, mismanagement, and we just have to stop that because the people deserve more. These fine young people didn't want to come down here today to speak on this, but when they see something wrong, they come down, and I'm glad that y'all did come down here because more people need to start coming down and seeing what's going on. These are the people that you guys are voting for. They come begging for your vote, but then when it's time to do service, they do not do what you expect them to do. And we have to hold them accountable because this is serious. None of us want to come down here and do this. I do not enjoy coming down here speaking about black people not doing their job. But they have a duty to uphold, and they take it for granted. We have come so far, we have bled so much, so many people have died in this city to allow people like that to come in this city and not take the job serious, and we suffer for it. Because guess what? When they mismanage funds and when corruption going on, that's when they raise our taxes to try to make amends for that. So that's why it's so serious. They don't care because they're making $200,000 salaries a year. They don't care about that. Some are making six figures, so they don't care about if our taxes go up. They get to write their salaries in. The general manager and the deputy general manager, Jaffa Rail, they make their own salaries. They don't have to get approval for anyone. So they don't care if our taxes go up. They don't care if our singers are about to lose their home. They don't care about that. But we have to care enough. And we have to hold people accountable. And I'm so glad that we have a good outlook in the new year. And I know with the IG report coming out and with some of the findings that they have let the mayor know what they have discovered, it has been a shame. And this board had privilege on knowledge to it. And once again, you know, all of this happened because we asked someone to pay back a $1,300 fine, Mr. Westmoreland, that they really didn't take no part in. And then come to find out, our deputy general manager, Jaffa Rail, had a Christmas party the other day that the city paid for, Mr. Amos. So I'd be so confused. You want these girls to pay back $1,300 for some candles that they didn't even authorize. You know, the general manager had his own scent on the counter. It was his idea. But our deputy general manager at question had a Christmas party on Howard Mill that was paid for by the city of Atlanta. You guys probably didn't approve it, but the city of Atlanta office did. Maybe, you know what I'm saying, it's the office where her mother worked. Maybe so, maybe not. But I'm just saying, we have to really take control of these things. Mr. Warnes, you're over finance. We got to start asking these tough questions, man, because if we don't, we're just as complicit. And so I just leave you guys with this, man. Like, we take these things serious in the city of Atlanta because we are born and raised here, and we know the true tales of it. It is a tale of two cities. And the ugly side of it, we can get rid of that. We do not have to live in that, and we do not have to accept that. And so I just hope in the new year moving forward in transportation, we ask these hard, tough questions, and I hope each and every one of you on the board and everyone in here have a safe and happy holidays. And thank you again, Mr. Farooq.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Happy holidays to everyone who came down, and thank you for coming down to give public comment today. We'll now move into the presentations and reports part of our agenda. Originally, aviation is scheduled to go first, ATL DOT is scheduled to go second. I'm going to flip that because we're still waiting on printouts of the aviation report. Our council staff is working to get that done, having a little trouble, but we'll start with ATL DOT, so aviation, you guys just keep circling the airport. We'll let you know when to land.
Good morning, Transportation Committee. I'm going to get going here. So thank you for the opportunity again to present on our third quarter report. My name is Solomon Cavanis. I am Commissioner for Atlanta Department of Transportation, and it's an honor to present the hard work of the Department of Transportation and all that we've done in 2023. Much of what you'll hear covers the last 3 months or so up through September, and I've included additional information considering the next report won't be in 2023. So with that, I'll jump in. Okay, today we're going to talk about our programs and initiatives, capital delivery program, community and public engagement events, state of good repair, and a couple other updates. Of course, the Atlanta mission statement for the Atlanta Department of Transportation includes design, delivery, and maintenance of our multimodal transportation system that provides Atlanta residents, commuters, and visitors safe and equitable access within the city in alignment with the Atlanta Transportation Plan. Our work stands on the Moving Atlanta pillars, 4 pillars: one safe city, a city of opportunity for all, a city built for a future, effective and ethical government. So I'll jump into our programs and initiatives. Speaking to our mission statement as part of the Atlanta Transportation Plan, we are taking advantage of the opportunity to upgrade or update our transportation plan. This is a 5-year transportation plan which was last released in 2018. This plan will include the existing and future transportation needs, considering forecasts for population growth within the region, vision for the city's multimodal connections, accessibility, and mobility. And our scope will focus on future regional growth, transportation system needs, sustainability, resilience, and equity. I should also include safety there, street topology and design, bike peds, micromobility, of course, transit, freight, curbside management, innovation, automation, electrification, asset management, and organizational strategic planning. We are doing this in coordination with the City Department of Planning or Department of City Planning in line with their city development plan. So we will be kicking this off as early as Q1 2024. Our Vision Zero initiative is one of our signature programs at the city. Vision Zero was adopted by the city in 2020. Goal to reach 0 fatalities or serious injuries due to crashes by 2040. And this is a whole city safe systems approach, so we're engaging all city partner departments and all stakeholder groups involved, including the community. So our year-to-date fatalities in 2023, we're not at the end of 2023 yet, is 65. That's trending lower than 22. However, we're seeing an increase in pedestrian incidents, so that's something that we're definitely focusing on. And I'll just speak to some of our near-term actions. We're going to release the plan, which is in draft form, in early 2024. Development is underway for a dashboard to display the dynamic data associated with our safety within the city and looking at low-cost solutions and low-hanging fruit, however we can approach that and get as much bang for our buck. Advanced solutions along our high injury network is a priority, and our next steps will include coordination with the Fatality Review Commission, which was presented by way of legislation, and we're going to kick that off in early 2024. Moving Atlanta forward, implementation of strategies along with our capital programming is something that we see as important way forward. So we've done a number of engagements, and we continue and will continue to engage with the community. So we're looking at Vision Zero by 2040. Zero fatalities can't wait, but based on our data, from a realistic standpoint, we're looking at our Vision Zero goal by 2040. So in line with our Vision Zero program, Safe Routes to School is a very popular program within the city and the community. We've implemented a number of strategies at many schools throughout the city, but in 2024, I'm just going to call out a few locations that we are pursuing based on data. This is not to exclude other schools and zones within the city, but Hollis Innovation Academy, we've started our planning. John Lewis Invictus and Harper Archer Elementary School will be 24 programs that I'd like to call out. We're all familiar with Atlanta Streets Alive. It was a very productive and successful 2023 fall experience. It's the first time that Atlanta Department of Transportation brought this in-house from Propel ATL. And we saw considerable attendance, 13,500 folks came out in September. October, we saw thereabouts 8,000 folks. We're still doing some analysis there. And December was our last event just recently, whereby we had free bikes for kids, where my daughter was very happy about getting her first set of wheels, and free helmet giveaways were provided courtesy of Lime. So I just want to recognize our staff and all the great work and the hard work they put into making this happen, a lot of coordination, and it's about 6 months of planning and coordination that goes into this. So, shared micromobility highlights. So I just call out that the City of Atlanta was recognized in the top 10 and ranked 5th overall in ridership per capita for micromobility, so scooters, e-bikes, etc. And this is an envy of many cities within the country. It really shows that e-mobility and micromobility has taken off in the city and become a mode of choice. And we've exceeded 2 million trips as of November of this year. So that's about a fourth of our trips throughout the year. Actually, 1/3 of our trips since the last quarter. So very historic number. And we continue to work with council and committee on making sure that we can accommodate all folks. Fare Free MARTA program on August 1st through January, we're pursuing making sure that city employees have an opportunity to ride MARTA for free. We've signed up 1,000 employees, and of those departments within the city, Department of Watershed Management is taking full advantage of that, including Public Works and others. But I will just call out that, we're seeing a number of riders coming from the southwest part of our city and parts west. So we want to see in 2024 what this program means to our employees and what's next on our plate. So I want to commend our staff for taking this on and moving it forward. This has been an in-house job in coordination with MARTA and other departments within the city, including HR. I'll jump into capital delivery. This is an updated chart for the number of projects that are in activation or in the pipeline within our capital program. This chart speaks to the state of our capital program, and I will just call out that we've had considerable activations relative to our program for T-SPLOST 2.0 and moving Atlanta forward in the last quarter. We are tracking at about 75% of activation for our batch 1 for year 2023. We're making efforts to staff up and work with our consultant community to make sure we get those out the door in anticipation of 2024, anticipation of batch 2. We are continuing our Renew Atlanta and T-SPLOST 1.0 promise and making sure that we get money out the door, working directly with procurement, and getting these projects on the street and shovels in the ground. We have a considerable number of capital delivery projects that are outside of the bond and T-SPLOST program that we're working with our CIDs and finding innovative ways to deliver. So that's been a true help and a testament to the hard work and innovation that this new team has taken on. Again, this is our capital delivery program status. So if you think about all those projects in excess of 225, each one of those projects has to go through our mapping to include activation, pre-construction, procurement, construction, and completion, and you see all the steps involved. So our project management team is doing due diligence and making sure that we can pass a clean audit. I'll speak to resurfacing because that is one of our priority programs within the city. We let our 2021 LMIG resurfacing program with assistance from Georgia Department of Transportation, and we have made considerable headway in getting this done. The target is end of the year. We're moving this along, but we have innovated and made sure that if there are projects that we can include within our resurfacing program, we work with council to see what's the fastest and most expeditious way of delivering these projects. So we're taking advantage of every contracting instrument available and trying to provide a value add to our capital program. So I'll just highlight a couple projects here. One to include the Cascade Road Complete Streets project. We're still working on our phase 1 and look forward to activating our phase 2 for design. This is the Cascade Road and Cascade Avenue project that extends from thereabouts city limits all the way to Avon Avenue. And currently we've been in talks with the contractor because we only have two utilities left. And that will not hold us up from getting shovels in the ground and moving dirt. So we've been in constant contact with our contractor and the contracting community to make sure that we're ready, and we will see activity starting in 2023. The community will see that, and we'll get information out to give advance notice for what they can expect. These are just some pictures of some of the utility work and the activity out on Cascade, so we're really excited about the direction that's going in. And we've also included our Bolton Road Improvement Program, project within our LMIG program, and we are actively working with Councilmember Hillis and the community to make sure we keep that project rolling. We are making great headway. However, there are some things in terms of process that we're working on, but this project is one that I'll call out as a great example of the opportunity to include a project that would normally go through our normal project delivery process that we've included in our existing contracting instruments to get out on the street, and we should see the entire Bolton Road corridor completed by Q2 2024. And this is an example of our in-house and whole of government approach to delivering projects. So we have Department of Watershed Management involved in this program and other departments who are participating in delivering this. One exciting project I'll call out is a recent groundbreaking out on Howell Mill, Howell Mill Complete Streets program. That picture is taken with our beautiful waterfront here in the city of Atlanta. Some people say Atlanta didn't have water, but we've proven otherwise. We are looking forward to mobilizing the contractor. Notice to proceed went out last month, and this is really exciting opportunity and another example of delivery and how serious we're taking getting our capital programs moving. So T-SPLOST 2.0, we're thereabouts at 85.8 million so far in collections, and we are putting that money to good use. And finally, community and public engagements. This is something very close to my heart because since I've been here, it's been a priority for me and staff to focus on listening to the community. We have some folks in the audience who have come, taken time out of their day to speak about some of the challenges within their community, and we've been out in the community listening. So this is an example of our Moving Atlanta Forward program and what we've delivered by way of the Howell Mill Complete Streets groundbreaking. We have our MLK Drive improvements with the bike lanes. We had a ribbon cutting and also the trolley trail ribbon cutting out at Gillum Park. We have construction communications that have gone out back in September. We went out and spoke with the community on Cascade, and I think we are due for another community engagement in the very near future. Bolton Road improvements, we've been coordinating with Councilmember Hillis and communicating with the community, and our community engagements do include, I mentioned Atlanta Streets Alive, those exciting events. We've had South Boulevard Complete Streets. We're getting out ahead of the procurement and construction for South Boulevard because we've heard of safety concerns and we wanted to make sure that we are present. World Day of Remembrance was celebrated or recognized on November 19th, and we had staff and some of those families of folks who've been victimized by traffic incidents. State of good repair, our pothole tracker is tracking consistent. I will mention that in 2022, many of the blue bars represent additional potholes that were discovered en route or as folks were riding out to take care of our 311 service level agreement potholes, but not that we aren't doing the same, but we accomplished a lot in 2022 and we've gotten to a relatively stable state. We've also expanded our paving program to make sure that our pavement preservation is improving, so you'll see those numbers fluctuate over time, but very proud of that group. We've also added staff to our pothole posse to make sure that we accommodate and take care of all the pothole challenges. So our 311 calendar year 22 versus 23, thereabouts consistent in terms of the work that we've done and the calls we've received to take care of our residents. Finally, I'll mention that the potholes are, again, the number one request that we get from 311. We're about a quarter up from a quarter of potholes in terms of numbers from the last report. And those numbers, more generally, are there about a quarter of the total from the last time we reported. So just by way of other updates, we got cold weather upon us, and as we enter this season of El Nino weather system, we've been doing our dry runs for winter weather. We've had two, one in September and one last week, whereby we brought in staff and equipment and simulated a real life winter weather event. We have a lot of new staff and a new department relative to folks who are participating in the program, and we wanted to make sure that everyone's prepared, and that went really well. And staff, we just appreciate their commitment and their hard work to making sure that everyone stays safe during winter weather season. Toot our own horn, you see a couple familiar faces up there, Commissioner Georgia Department of Transportation, Marsha Anderson-Bomar, myself joined Michael Baker, and C.W. Matthews. We won the award for Design Build Project of the Year. I will say over a GDOT project, so something to be very proud of as part of the Georgia Transportation Summit back in November in Athens, awarded to us by Georgia's ACEC chapter. And our stakeholder oversight for moving Atlanta forward, we are almost there in terms of having a full committee. Wesley Brown was nominated and appointed by the committee, last Transportation Committee in November. And with that, I will open the floor up for questions. Thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the report. I know my colleagues will have questions. If you're interested in asking questions, please hit your speaker button. Been joined by colleagues, Councilmember Lewis and Councilmember Hillis. Lewis is on the committee. Hillis is here to make sure you're not comfortable before you leave this room, as are the rest of us for that matter. So in the words of Warren G., regulators mount up. Here we go. I have a few questions. First is on Vision Zero. We've been trending in the wrong direction in this city. 65 year-to-date fatalities. Got a couple more weeks left. I know that's a national trend for the most part as well. But on the second slide after that, it says Vision Zero by 2040. I mean, that's us saying we're okay with 16, 17 more years of fatalities on the road. And so I question, kind of like I question our sustainability goals and commitment to achieving them. Like, what are we doing? Like, you know, this Vision Zero stuff, it feels good to talk about it, feels good to champion it. But as I think you and your staff would acknowledge, a lot of us getting there is going to require significant capital improvements to our infrastructure, right? And how our spaces are designed. It's not just lowering a speed limit. And so I have some skepticism as to how committed the city is to achieving Vision Zero, because we haven't shown urgency other than talking about it. And, you know, I would surmise that very few of us will be in this room in 2040. And you know, as transitions happen, momentum tends to wane. And so we have the ball right now. There's a national movement toward Vision Zero. How can we move faster is to reverse the trend we're seeing?
So, a couple statements there about the seriousness. I just want to defend staff because they are going fully out of their way to go out into the community and speak with the community about how we feel as a community, collective community in Atlanta. And it's really important to our staff. We've started to staff up and make sure that we have a focus on Vision Zero. We are, I mentioned the comprehensive transportation plan. We are centering that on safety, including mobility and equity, sustainability to your point. But I will say we are working with our federal partners to make sure that whatever federal dollars are made available, which we're seeing a national trend locally, we're going to go after those to supplement and support our municipal goals. We're also, as you'll recognize in our projects, the complete streets and the comprehensive designs all include a safety element. So we've brought lane widths down, we've included bike lanes, protected bike lanes, and we've done a lot by way of sidewalks. Much of our Moving Atlanta Forward program includes sidewalks, just so that folks have safe access. So I will say that I appreciate the sentiment, and I ask that we bring that same energy as we approach the budget process. You know, that's an opportunity for all of us to put some skin in the game, and we welcome the involvement and engagement from council, because whatever electeds and those persons who have some level of influence can do to support getting the word out and modeling the right behavior for a safer way of getting around. I have two little ones. I live in a walkable community, but I want to make sure that we're living in a city. I got to say, the mayor is a champion, the administration's a champion of Vision Zero and safety. I agree with you about 2040. I don't think we can wait. You know, tomorrow is too long for another fatality, but we are committing our resources, and a lot of what you don't see are the in-kind staff hours and the work that we're doing going out into the community to preach. We have over 1,000 or so signatures as part of our Vision Zero pledge. So there is consistent momentum, you know, that we want to take advantage of moving forward in the short term.
I'll pick up that conversation with you all later. I appreciate your response. I do think part of the answer here is being more consistent and best practice influenced on the design of our safer streets, right? Whether it's committing to hard separation on bike lanes, to using bulb outs to narrow intersection, all these things that work, we know they work, but we're not seeing them here on any sort of consistent basis. We see kind of pilot projects and experiments, but there's not this wholesale adaptation of kind of a philosophy of this throughout the department. And so I won't be on this committee next year. I will be on this committee next year, so I will continue pressing you all, but I hope to see more of that from y'all. Atlanta Streets Alive, is there intention on the department's part to include funding in your budget to continue it next year?
Yes, we absolutely intend to pursue it.
Micromobility, quickly, one thing I'd like to see is a heat map of rides. I suspect this has long been the case that the majority of rides, or the lion's share of rides, are in my district, and I see folks using scooters to get to work. That's great. I see folks using it for leisure. That's great. We drive for leisure. We ride bicycles for leisure. I don't fault anyone for that. But I continue to receive and see a lot of rough edges, so to speak, meaning folks continue to ride on sidewalks in heavily pedestrianized areas, scooters continuing to end up littered across sidewalks, not necessarily the operators putting them out there, but users leaving them that way, that are impeding folks who have ADA issues, who are pushing a stroller, who are just walking. I have residents in Midtown who get knocked over by scooter riders. I'm not saying that's intentional, but that tension exists. I'm not going to turn around and ask APD to spend their time writing tickets for folks on sidewalks, but what can DOT do to keep a tighter leash to make sure that this modality not just has lots of riders, which is great, but is safer for both riders and non-riders?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I know we've talked about this issue in the past. As the activity increases, this issue is going to continue to haunt us. I will say we're working with NACTO and other cities to look at best practices. We're also focused on micromobility within our Vision Zero action plan so that we can put those strategies to good work, to good use, but also trying to see how we can take advantage of technology and see what we can do to look at trends in the data. But to your point, it's an ongoing challenge as our issues with new.
Do you know when the contracts are up for renewal?
Yes, we are going out in early 2024 for the RFP for our next round of micromobility.
And when would that next, I guess, tranche of service begin? Like, when does the current contract end? Is it like middle of 2024?
Yeah, June 2024.
Okay. I think as y'all shape the RFP, one of the things that at least is of interest to me is really leveraging the geofencing technology, which I know I've had conversations with your staff about. I know it doesn't always work well in areas where there's high rises and mid rises to do spot-specific geofencing effectively. But because we don't have the people power to go out and enforce a lot of our laws on the books, like riding on sidewalks or where you park, we're going to have to leverage technology to make sure that we're shaping behaviors as best we can. And so I would hope that there's an advancement on our expectations of how geofencing is used in this upcoming RFP and whoever we contract with going forward. All right. I know my colleagues have questions. I have a couple more. The ATO DOT capital delivery program status to date have 3 columns: renew TSPOS 1.0 and moving letter forward TSPOS 2.0. I noticed, this is everyone's favorite topic, that there were 0 projects in the first column, the TSPOS Renew Atlanta column. But there was a project that was two-waying Baker Street that was in that tranche. It hasn't started. I suspect because of political pressure and otherwise, it's not going to start. But I'd like to hear from the department as to what we're going to do with Baker Street, because that's one, I'm curious from law if it's legal to take a project that was voted on back, 7, 8 years ago, and then ultimately not do it, or what the department's plan is with Baker Street.
Yeah. So we've had, I spoke about the seriousness of engaging with the community. We've literally gone out with the community and done walkthroughs to think about curbside management, think about the operations along the Baker Street. And at this point, we've made the executive decision to maintain the one-way configuration. However, we are starting with our planning for design, for resurfacing, curbside management, and improvements. Now, mind you, Baker Street is part of a network in the downtown area, so we can't dismiss the importance of Baker Street's role in how circulation and people move in downtown. But At this point, we're coordinating with CAP, ADID to think about what that design might look like. As soon as we get to a substantial percentage of design, we're going to circulate that and include folks from the community, and we'll make sure you're involved in that
So
process.
if I hear you correctly, ATO DOT has made a decision to use the funds allocated for Baker Street to do resurfacing and other improvements along the Baker Street corridor. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
Okay. I think at some point I'd like to talk to law to see if that's legal, that you can take that the department, you don't have the answer today, can take a T-SPOS project that was on the ballot and unilaterally change the scope of it. It may be legal based on the wording. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not trying to accuse you of doing something illegal at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I just want to make sure that we're doing this by the law. And so we can have that conversation separately. Good communication back from the department on what our proposed projects will cost, where they may be in a pipeline. And I know, speaking as one council member, I'm really frustrated by that. A year ago, I sent a list of sidewalks that we've identified as needing fixing, and I got some costing back, went back and forth, and it's kind of gone silent. I have a bunch of projects that I've identified, and I even had meetings with the department on a year ago or 8 months ago, and it's gone silent. So I think, I don't know where my colleagues stand within the conversations with your department, but you know, it would be nice if there's some proactive communication from the department and the requisite folks with district council members on the discretionary bond dollar district projects that we're trying to get going.
Well, I will say, sorry that you haven't gotten the what you see as the appropriate attention relative to discretionary funds. However, we have been doing a tour with our council district folks, and I hope that's not the experience of others. And if there's anything we can do, we can work together directly, and I'll make sure, following this meeting,
Thank you.
make sure we address
And then
it.
the last question I have before I turn to my colleagues is, I did note on the ATL 301 request ledger, the third most popular inquiry/complaint is on sidewalk status, or just state of sidewalk, but there was no commentary in this report on efforts to remedy and expand our sidewalk network. Not asking you to do in full today, but when we talk about Vision Zero, we're not having a sidewalk element to this report. It's a bit of a disconnect. The previous commissioner, I think, oversaw an audit of our sidewalks, and I'm sure the number keeps going up every day just based on inflation and other costs. But we have over $1 billion in sidewalk maintenance needs and expansion needs, but we kind of drip, we spot fix stuff here and there. And so I'd like to see more commentary and focus on where we're going with sidewalk repair and expansion.
Okay, we'll include that as part of your update, Councilmember. I don't want to give the impression that it's drip. I put a slide up to speak to the project managers needed for each project. We are picking up the former capital program and moving that along. We have activated considerable projects. They're about 71% of the 2023 batch, and perhaps an update in terms of how that's going, in terms of design. We're taking advantage of some innovative contracting so that we can get sidewalks out on the street. You're going to start seeing groundbreaking and shovels in the ground, quite disruptive shovels in the ground soon. So we should communicate.
And to that, I would ask y'all to provide a list of what's on the docket, right? Like, I know I've submitted scores of sidewalks that need addressing in my district, some of which I'm going to use discretionary dollars to address. But I don't know if that list, which my discretionary dollars isn't going to cover, is somewhere else on a list at DOT that you're considering those for those funds. Like, it would be nice if the committee and council could learn which sidewalks are slated for repair in the next year, for example.
Sure. And
Or expansion. I know there's some parts of the city that don't have sidewalks at all, so building out sidewalks too.
yeah, I appreciate that. I will say, we all have a list of the batching for our Moving Atlanta Forward program. We also have a list of our former capital program, maybe an update as to where we are with the batching so that we're all on the same page. But it's not as though work isn't happening. And obviously, we've been having communication with council. There's an opportunity to make sure, because we share the same concerns. We all share these concerns. And as you know, this administration is laser focused on quality of life. So absolutely, I hear you.
Thank you. And thank you to my colleagues for their patience as I ask questions. Councilmember Lewis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And no, it's not working, right? Thank you, Chair, for passing it over. And today is a bow tie Wednesday, and I didn't have on my bow tie today. I want to say thank you, Mr. Cavanagh. And you started about a year ago to the city of Atlanta. And
11 months. I'm sorry to interrupt you. 11 months, just for clarity.
And so, but I just want to say thank you for your service to the city. I know our chair, he mentioned some things, and I wanted to, they're not equal to me. When he says a conversation around communication from the department and making sure things get done, I wanted to mention a few names. Allen, Ms. Councilmember Carla Smith, Ms. Marsha, Kajara, Keith, and Allen again. They've been amazing to my department. Greg Moore, who answered the phone, and Mr. Moore, who answered the phone while he was and still did service for my district while moving funding for me while working with a kid under the age of 4 last night. And so I want to say I appreciate the communication from my department, from my area in the 11 months on the department. When I'm looking at the streets being done, I'm getting the good calls. And so in my district, what folks wanted to see was shovels in the ground. And last week, I heard, well, this week, for the first time in my life, someone said, I can't wait to see what Cleveland Avenue looks like in 10 years. And so what I heard from that was, he said, I understand the mess. I understand that my ride right now is a little slower, but I appreciate the shovels in the ground. And so I want to say the 11 months that you've been here in my portion of the district, I've received the communication, and I appreciate you and your staff for doing that for us. Vision Zero. When we say it not happening until 2040 and some of us not being here, that's a real thing. And so when your response was talk about it around the budget time, we did. They gave the money back. We tried to give $7 more million. They gave the money back. And Councilmember Overstreet reminded me of that. And so we've talked about it. That's why we're looking at, right now we're looking at you and we're looking at the department and staff. And what I hear from that is staff up even more. Because we have projects that need to be hit, and we've given you the funding. Don't give it back. And I know you ain't giving it back. I know that you have it. I know everybody has some folks that we answer to the people. This body answers to the people. So this body gave $7 more million from the people to fix issues in the city. And so this year I wrote a note that I'm super excited about the ARC. The ARC I'm super excited about because last year they took a trip to Canada. They went to Toronto. What city did they go to? Montreal.
Canada.
And they talked about bike lanes and shared mobility. And so today you told us that we are number 6 in the nation, number 5 in the nation in shared mobility. And the sentence I wrote was 2 million trips, ranked number 5 in the nation for shared micromobility without the same budget input. Right? So we're not even trying to get that done. Like me, myself, I take my Segway, not a Segway, I got a 9-bot right now, from Polar Rock to City Hall down Pryor Road, no protection the entire route. In Canada, they're using their bike lanes 6 months less a year than us, and they're spending $30 million more a year than us. And so I'm just saying, like, what do we have to do to protect myself and the kids that are on Pryor Road? Because we got 3 schools. We got an elementary school, middle school, and a high school. sitting in one community, and those kids, they're using that stuff. So I would appreciate when we give you the $7 million this year, it looks like we're gonna have to get more. And with our mayor now being over the ARC, super excited because the ARC came up with this strategy. They said we need to spend more. And so that means our mayor should be able to direct funds directly to us. We now have 2 speakers on that ARC board. We got our, one of my favorite council members, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, who came back with that report. And we got our mayor leading the board. And so I feel good about that. And so I think that's the way we can grow with that department. I have a few more before I go through. In District 12, the next 2 years should look like a highlight reel. And what I say about that is, since you've hit the ground 11 months ago, I know it's been, Atlanta's a relationship town, and you've been trying to build a relationship, so I'm watching you build them. We've been practicing and we've been studying and we've been building our game plan, and then it's time to work our plan. We've been planning our work all year these last 2 years. It's halftime now. And so I want to see these shovels in the ground still turning, but I want to cut some ribbons like Councilmember Overstreet for the next 2 years. I appreciate you and your service. We don't need you to go nowhere. Your team needs to grow. Your team has to grow. If your team does not grow, that means we ain't do it right. The city of Atlanta has grown. We're building stuff all over. We are thriving. We are still the #1 place to do business, #1 stuff for this. Let's fix our traveling lane. Thank you again for coming in.
Thank you, Councilmember. And if I may, I want to say it's not that we're not doing, it's not that we're not investing, but we have to see it on the ground. So our capital program, you will see shovels in the ground building out that infrastructure that you talked about.
Your staff has to grow. So like we got all these projects that they need project managers, right? Mm-hmm. How many projects do you have that don't have project managers?
All of the projects activated have project managers.
How many project managers are being overextended because of these in-kind hours, right? Mm-hmm. So I know all projects got project managers, but I want, like, I came in here saying Metropolitan Parkway, worst street in the nation. You fixed it. I came in here saying now Brown Mill Road, worst street in our state. You're fixing it. Right now, McDaniel Street, University Avenue, Pittsburgh is going through some issues. So we need some project managers to get this stuff done. And so how many project managers do you think, because they're sitting behind you and they telling, I know they tell you, and it's the council, we're asking you, they're stretched. I mean, how many of them are stretched to the point where they ain't, because I need my projects done.
And you know, we've talked about project managers and challenges. So we're working to get up to at least 25. We are approaching 20 now to bring that stretch, if you will, down in terms of number of projects. We're also looking at innovative ways through our consultant community to support us in getting these projects activated and out the door. We're tracking in the right direction. We are pursuing project managers by way of hiring. We've gotten a lot of interest, but as you know, project managers are like platinum out in the industry right now. So that's not an excuse for where we're going, because we will be at 25 going into 2024. That puts us in a great tip. And not to say that we haven't activated and we're not trending in the right direction.
And I want to give you a little bit more power. This council, we've been fully supportive of fixing our infrastructure for our citizens, right? And so you say you need 25, I think you need 30. I know that last year I said we was conservative on the transportation budget, so we tried to give $7 more million. You gave it back. This year you say you need 25, I think you're being conservative again. I appreciate you but our folks don't need to be stretched. Our folks don't need to be stretched. So 25, I think we need 30. And that's us giving you a little bit more power to go to the mayor and say, hey, the council thinks you need 5 more to make sure, because we're going to hold you accountable. After 11 months on the job, we got folks making sure they tell you're going to be accountable. So stretch yourself, get your 30 project managers and get the job done, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Councilor Lewis. Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
So luckily, we've been in constant communication, my office and ATL, DLT, about a number of projects and issues. Some are going just as I'd like them to, and some just aren't. But we're still working on everything, and so I appreciate that. And I would like to echo Councilmember Lewis in thanking your entire team. I will say that they have been extremely responsive, even when I asked for some things that I know they probably prefer not to talk about or share. They'll call, and we are working on quite a few things. This the LMIG list was one of them. I was concerned about some of the legislation that was coming before me because it looked different from what I was thinking that it should look like with the LMIG list. What are your thoughts on a list changing without it being publicized to at least council members? What are your thoughts on that?
So I don't know if staff and you've had the conversation. We're looking at a pavement preservation strategy, which is consistent with the federal program and the state program. Councilmember Lewis mentioned the representation on the ARC board so that we can bring those federal dollars home. And as long as we align our strategies with industry and national best practices, we're in a better position. So we are absolutely open to that. We're actually having conversations internally and spurred by leadership in the administration to think about how we do resurfacing, because as we all know, the state of our infrastructure needs improving, and we need to rethink our approach. So absolutely.
And that's part of the reason why I asked you that, because I want to know what can council expect. Like, if we were given an LMIG list and it's what we expect, citywide, I don't think council thinks that list can change. I don't think they think so, unless you let us know the list is changing. And I mean, more than just the council member. Everyone needs to know it, not just the district council member. Everyone needs to know that. And that's just something I'd like to put on your radar, just to let you know that was concerning to me. When I totally understood the list and where we are and what's coming up and all of that, I think that if we get an infusion of funding, you should still let all of council know that we have an infusion of funding and that the list will change. We need to know.
Yeah. And for clarity's sake, as part of our LMIG program, we consult with council for priorities based on conditions and our pavement condition index. However, as we go into our next round of LMIG, we'll be having that conversation about shifting to pavement preservation approach, not to exclude, the factors that we've included in the LMIG program, but just making sure that we're covering all of our bases with you.
Okay, because one of the things that has really been troubling me is the Niskey Lake situation, where their bus route 183 from MARTA is still in limbo. And I understand that we're offering, ride shares and micro mobility and all of that, but at the end of the day, MARTA keeps saying that the city of Atlanta has not changed that road digest so that they can use the street for the route. And they've said that several times in council. And I want to explain again how important it is that we do what's needed expeditiously, especially on routes where people are getting on that bus Monday through Friday because they're going to work. And I feel like we're doing them a disservice by not changing that road quickly to make sure that they can access bus route 183. I do feel that a lot of people have been inconvenienced, even though MARTA has changed how they can access MARTA. I just think that we're not doing right by Niskey Lake. So I would like for us to figure out something in the immediate future to button that whole situation up, because we've left it in limbo, and I've not heard anything concrete as to where we go from here. Just MARTA saying we can't. What they've done is continue to try it. They sent out buses to see if they could use it, and just to verify that it's unsafe for Route 183. And I don't know what those guardrails are, but I'm thinking that you probably do, like what the real problem is there. Because I refuse to believe that Niski Lake is the only 20-foot wide street in the city of Atlanta that uses MARTA. But it has to be the most heavily, the highest ridership, 20-foot wide route in MARTA's system. The most. It has to be, because that's 183 is in general. So if they're putting buses on 20-foot wide roads throughout the city of Atlanta, they need to be in a place where the city is truly getting people to work, school, the grocery store, because again, Campbellton Road doesn't have one. So they're riding MARTA to go to the grocery store. So those are the things I'm still working on, okay? I hear there is great news coming with the Cascade Complete Streets, which would, thrill me to no end. You know that. Like, I would be totally excited to hear something other than any 2025 date. January 1st, 2025 is too late, because we cut that ribbon. I mean, no, we turned that dirt November 2021 on a T-Splice that came from 2017. So we're just out of time at this point. So I do feel that we're all on the same page finally. And I commit to the community that we are going to continue to meet and have terribly hard conversations about Cascade Complete Streets until it is done. And I commit to ATL DOT that I will continue to meet at least monthly in my office about Cascade Complete Streets. We weren't, it wasn't a steadfast rule, but we have been meeting quite regularly. But starting January 2024, I will be meeting with ATL DOT about Cascade Complete Streets in my office every single month, because I'm hell-bent on getting this complete street done, because I want to be excited about all of the projects throughout the whole city. And that's hard to do when I see the challenges that have been put before us that I feel like we've not mastered since 2017 to 2023. And it just makes it hard for a council member to be downright excited about all of the projects that we're doing throughout the city when this promise has not been met. So with that, I do know that we do have good news. You want to talk about that a little bit?
So it's been since September where we've gone out to the community and had the conversation. I think we're in a position where that needs to be scheduled just for an update. You should have sidewalks, summer 2024. If you don't have sidewalks summer 24, we're going to have a problem, right?
If Matt, you know how you hold my recordings? If you could just pull that for me. Okay.
I was very intentional about
I heard you.
not including specifics. You will have
That's
sidewalks
I understand
2024
that.
summer, yes.
But I just want to make sure that you know that I'm completely supportive of ATL DOT.
You've been great.
Completely. For some reason, mobility has just risen to the top of things that I actually love talking about and truly enjoy, right next to green spaces that I've fallen in love with in my district as well while on council. So connecting council, every council district, but connecting my residents to these green spaces and being able to walk on places that have normally been just grass and dirt paths and fast cars, super fast cars, has really been interesting for me, and I've enjoyed that. So I really look forward to completion. I think this probably is going to be, the last time that we're gonna be at a weird spot, with some projects. I feel like we are moving in the right direction, but I'm hoping that our Cascade Complete Street meeting will happen in January for the community. Let's put that down. I hope that, and I am just looking forward to continuing to work with you all. I'm not going to go through every street. I like to do that in my office, but just want y'all to know that budget season next year, it's next to impossible to get back money that you give back to the budget, but I say ATL DOT needs that money back. If that's just for staffing and project managers, so that's what I'll be asking for. And so don't say no to the money when they say that we'd like for ATL DOT's budget to be increased. Okay? Say yes, please.
Yes, I look forward to having a more in-depth conversation around budget
Okay.
as we move into the budget season.
Absolutely. I yield.
Thank you. Mr. Wan.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep this quick. It'll be one observation, 3 requests. Observation is, 6 months ago when we were talking about budget, exactly what Councilmember Collier Overstreet and Lewis were saying, we were trying to push as much money at the department as possible and that coupled with the bond issue, both of them, 2022 and 2015. And it's just a reflection of what we're hearing from our constituents. So you are now 11 months in, and fortunately, we're in a period of the year where people aren't expecting a lot of infrastructure construction because of the weather. But that said, we're turning a corner now into 2024, and we've got to, this is going to be a focus of mine in 2024. I am returning this committee, so just, you won't be able to dodge it. That's the observation, but it feeds into my 3 requests. The first one is on page 14 under capital program delivery status. The next quarterly report, I'd like to see progress. I'd like to see these numbers, but I want it from December. I want to see where we are in March so that we know projects are moving down the columns. It's hard to know, judging from this, if we're getting movement. Second request, yes, we want to throw more money at you. Yes, you have resources, but I don't feel like we've gotten a picture of what your strategy is for staffing, using outside. You mentioned it, but I'd like to see some numbers in terms of where we were, where you're at, where you're going. I think we just saw the personnel paper as well. I don't think I saw a whole lot of DOT project manager requests in terms of salary, above entry, that type of thing that would assist you in being competitive. So I'm expecting to see that, since you mentioned that's part of the challenge is recruiting. So again, in the use, how we're using, what procurement's doing and how we're using outside contractors to help us expand capacity. So a little more dive into that. And then the third one is I fully expect to see Monroe Drive Complete Streets in the packet of capital projects that y'all are moving because I've been saying that since 2022, and I've kind of been quiet and patient because I know that there's some other priority projects, but kind of like Councilmember Collier Overstreet has said, we're running out of time. Our constituents are, they've shifted, my constituents have shifted from public safety conversations to infrastructure. And so that, let's try and stay ahead of that so that we're not feeling intense heat, but rather we're able to share with them and inform them along the way that movement is happening. So my observation and 3 requests, it's very simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I will just say that 11 months in, fairly new leadership. We have all new deputy commissioners, 2 of which were promotions. That strategy has been evolving over the last 11 months, but I think we're in a good position to share with you where we are, where we're going, and I think you'll be happy to see the numbers.
Thank you, Commissioner. To my colleagues, I see Councilor Lewis back on the good. I'll turn to Councilor Hillis here in a second. We have one major report after DOT aviation and legislative agenda, so I'm hoping we can keep things moving. But I welcome Councilor Hillis to the meeting, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll call out, I had to suffer through a 4-hour public safety meeting on Monday. So thank you for allowing me to come speak at the committee. Chair Faroki, I'll be joining the committee next year as Chair Amos will take over, so look forward to that. Thank you, Commissioner Cabanis, for the presentation. My colleagues have hit a few of my issues, and I'm trying to concentrate on what I see as systemic issues, because I know that I speak with your team and yourself about district-specific issues, but I may touch on a few of those as well. But I want to start off with where Councilmember Juan was talking about, and that is the issue of staffing. I don't know what vacancy rate was when you started 11 months ago, but speaking of that report that we got from HR, before those changes were made, DOT's vacancy rate was 50%. With the changes of converting some of the extra help to full-time, that is now up to 53%. And I know that may change day to day, so it may be different, as this is a few weeks old. But to me, that is a significant contributor to the state of DOT and not getting simple emails answered, projects moving forward, et cetera. So you have 278 FTEs authorized now. However, again, a few weeks ago, only 131 of those are filled. So what is your strategy for filling those? How many positions are currently posted online? I was trying to look last night, and I had a hard time seeing how many were, but it didn't look like a significant number. And how many DOT-specific job fairs have you coordinated with HR to be held here in these first 11 months? So if you were to start there with staffing.
So staffing, I will say that from a strategy standpoint, it's really important for us to get our leadership team in order. We're in a really good place. However, much of the personnel paper and the charge against our budget has gone 100% into our capital budget for some of our staffing associated with getting projects out the door. So you'll find many of our requests for new staff have been included in our capital program. So much of our general fund asks we minimize because we're focusing on that capital delivery portion and the human capital element of the overall budget. We are working with Commissioner Smith to make sure that our strategy supports our function and make sure the form supports our function. So we have done considerable hiring, and maybe the numbers don't show it. I probably need to present that to this group in terms of the numbers of new folks that we've brought in. We've had a number of resignations, so we've maintained a relationship or communication with leadership to ensure that we are hiring strategically and we're bringing on strategic folks, strategic roles, people who have experience at what ATL DOT was meant to do. I will say in my 11 months, it's been an education in what's possible. Coming in, and one of your concerns was folks being in the office. So in that 11 months, we've brought back considerable staff into the office to make sure that we're present, we're meeting together, and we're taking full advantage of our time together to deliver. So relative to those numbers, speaking to Councilmember Wan's concerns and requests, perhaps we include you in that conversation as well as the other committee members in terms of our strategy and our numbers and where we're headed. So I'll commit to that.
So you'll follow up on the questions about, you don't know offhand how many positions you currently have posted?
We have 35 that we included in our latest request. Some of those haven't been posted as of yet, but we're in the area of 20.
Gotcha. And I can, appreciate you first stated that, there's a lot contributed to capital projects. Those also have its own feeders and T-SPOS and bonds, et cetera. But it takes staff to deliver those projects. And I believe that's why we're seeing the lag. So would be interested in seeing, being part of that conversation with Councilmember Wan, as you stated. Do you also know, how have you worked with HR to host ATL DOT job fairs this year? Or is that something you're looking at?
That's something we're pursuing and moving forward. We're developing a workforce program so that we work with the universities, so we are included in their job fairs, but also have build a pipeline for new students coming out, our technical universities. So that's something we're pursuing, and we're doing that in coordination with HR.
And you've been looking at my notes. What is the, I believe it was your first quarterly I asked specifically. I started off with that work from home policy, and I believe either before or shortly after that is when HR came in and requested all departments to establish that policy. So what is that policy within DOT, and what does your work from home program look like in DOT?
So I can get you the numbers on our staffing, but what we find ourselves dealing with is the adjustment from coming out of COVID, whereby we had a workspace that can accommodate so many folks. We're in the process of reorganizing our workspace, but in the last 2 quarters, we've taken a 3-phase approach, whereby our leadership, who's in every day a week, they've taken advantage of bringing in their direct support, their directors into the office, given the space available within the office. You mentioned our capital program and our ability to respond. One thing that's not stated here is we've augmented some of our delivery processes with consultant staff, and consultants are in office supporting our everyday day-to-day operations for delivery. But I will say we have a 3-phase approach in terms of bringing our folks in, and going into the new year, those numbers will increase, but you'll find in our offices the energy is totally different. It's night and day from when I joined the city. So we are making progress there, but I can get you information in terms of our hard numbers.
Gotcha. And also just reiterate what Councilmember Wan said about the chart. I have not seen a lot of progress since the September quarterly, so would like to see more movement, especially in the now approaching 9-year-old 2015 Renew and the T-SPOS 1.0 program. But moving on to, I believe it was a previous request, and I've made this of a number of departments of the committees I sit on, as well as I believe I made it in my first quarterly of the DOT report this year. But I know they're not going to look great, but we need to see service level agreement metrics for DOT, especially for your most requested items, pothole repairs, either non-emergency or emergency sign and signal repair, those concrete inspections, sidewalk inspections, street signs, et cetera. So that is a request that I would like to see as a member of this committee next year on your first quarterly for 2024.
Sure, no problem. If I could speak to that, that's a soft spot. Running our numbers from all the coordination, we do a lot of work together with council, with our community, and some of that work goes unseen. We have thousands of emails that come in on a weekly basis. We do our best to focus on what we can while maintaining our day-to-day operations. We have over 4,600 requests that have come in, which far exceeds last year's requests. And part of that is we're victims of our success. We've been able to get out there and respond and do work. So I just want to recognize all the folks that are part of the ATL-DO team and all that they do. This is not an easy job, especially recovering from where we've been. And in the time that I've been here, I can't speak for the former staff and administration, but this mayor and the administration has made it a priority that we're responsive to the community. We have returned phone calls whenever meetings are requested by council. We have been there. We have made sure that we hear you. And as we round out this conversation, I just want to speak to the importance of listening. That's something that we've been doing since I've been here anyway, and that's one of the primary skills that I've been teaching and coaching my staff is you got to listen to what your constituents in the community want. So speaking to that, 4,600 responses outside of our normal day-to-day operations is quite significant, and each of you know how responsive our staff has been, and to say that we don't answer phone calls or that we might not answer emails in a timely fashion, is not representing what this administration's about and what this mayor represents. We are out in the community, we're going to MPU meetings, we are doing the work. So I just want to put that out there and help everyone understand that that does not represent who Atlanta DOT, which I call 2.0, is. We're going in a direction that speaks to making sure that the people of our community are in a good place. So I appreciate your comments, though, Councilmember.
Thank you for that. One funding source that hasn't been spoken about, if you could work with, as this may be handled within planning, but one funding source that I would like to see a breakdown on of both active, pending, and non-allocated funds, and also break it down by the council district of impact fees for transportation projects. Because there may very well be being expended and used at this point, but I know that was an issue with the previous administration where funds were just sitting that had been allocated for impact fee projects. So if I could get those from you, or you working with DCP about that. I did have one quick question about the LMIG. Number one, and this may be coming to me, but I've asked a number of times what the delay is on the Edwards Drive resurfacing. And then as well, it is on this list.
Yep.
And it's one of the ones that say activity completed none. But another concern I had for this is that one of these streets that should be on here, Reservoir Drive, is not listed. And I hope that certainly hasn't been removed, because the last list I saw had Reservoir Drive on there, and I've not been told otherwise. So if you could look into that, please.
Quickly, Councilmember, if you can go back to Edwards Drive, you said none activity?
Correct.
In our LMIG, I don't see anything that represents none.
So it's on this separate handout sheet that we received of LMIG projects.
I need to get you an updated list, because everything has a schedule associated with trying to get this finished this season. So I'll make sure that, and we'll get an update to you on anything that's missing. And as you know, we're working with Watershed Management to coordinate as much as we can as it relates to some of these projects.
And then another request, what you already have is, and I'll just bring up, is a timeline for an updated PCI study. It'll be about 5 years since one's been completed, as well as something that DOT, or prior to that, DPW has never done before. At least we haven't seen it as an actual 5-year resurfacing plan to change those PCI numbers on our worst streets. So if we could get that, that would be great.
Absolutely. Speaking to Councilmember Overstreet, yes, that's something that we will be talking to all the council members about as relates to our pavement preservation program. So, yes, sir.
And then going back to Sheriff Roki's, I believe it was his first concern about that, about the fatalities on our streets. Is that, I've asked this question before, but I don't recall the answer. I've got it written down in my notes, but the 65, is that just city streets, or does that include state surface streets and interstates?
Yeah, it's city streets to include arterials that are jurisdiction of Georgia Department of Transportation. So it doesn't include the interstate network.
But it does include state routes that are surface streets like Donley Hollowell?
Yep.
Okay. Related to that, staying on Hollowell, the previous administration, this is when the list of school cameras, school enforcement speed zone cameras rolled out due to circumstances beyond my control with the previous mayor. None of those were placed in District 9, even though we have, I believe, at least 3 schools on Hollowell, one of our most dangerous streets in the city, where I believe close to 30 people have perished, just pedestrians, over the last 15 years. So what role, if any, does the city or DOT play with expanding that program? And I saw that John Lewis Invictus Academy, which is one of those schools,
Right.
is on your Safe Routes to Streets program.
Right.
But what role do y'all play in expanding that camera network?
Yeah, so we are partners with Georgia Department of Transportation and making sure that we do a phased approach to installing the cameras. I think we have all school zones covered as part of our camera enforcement program. Ms. Smoot Madison might be able to speak a bit more to the camera program.
Hi, good morning. Betty Smoot Madison, Deputy Commissioner over Strategy and Planning for ATL DOT. So we are working closely with APS on the selection of schools that are recipients of the school zone speed cameras. The largest driver of how those schools are selected is if those school zone designations are on a state-approved list of roads. So we have to go through a process with GDOT to ensure that certain schools or all schools are on that LOR. Previously, the last list was from 2002, so it had not been updated since then. And so we went through an extensive effort to make sure that all schools are on the new LOR. So we are going through that update process now.
Thank you.
Councilmember, quickly, speaking to Safe Routes to School, we want to see how we can expand that program and working with our federal partners, because that's a federal program that, by way of ARC, we might be able to take advantage of. So I just want to put that on y'all's radar, that school zones are really important to us, something we're pursuing.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm going to conclude and wrap up my questions, but wanted to conclude with just saying that I appreciate you and your team with what you have done in these 11 months. I know some of your team have been here for much less than that, but you know, you were not handed the best bag, so to speak, and we've made some progress. But as me and my colleagues have stated, there is a lot more to be done, and we're looking forward to being partners in that. And I think, like I said, the biggest thing is you have a great team. You just need a much bigger team, given your 53% vacancy rate. So looking forward to addressing that. Maybe that'll be number one on he's walked out, but Chair Amos's goals for 2024 to cut that vacancy rate in half. But as Councilmember Juan stated, I mean, this not just this committee, but this council begged and pleaded to give your department more money, and that was swatted down. So I know a lot of that needs to go to staffing, but had a great meeting with your team. Last week, and hope that we can get together soon and discuss some of the pending issues specific to District 9. Thank you.
And just to close that conversation around budget, I know we'll be having this conversation moving forward in 2024. But you know, this administration is a very smart administration. The idea of turning away $7 million isn't, that language isn't consistent with the strategic vision that this administration is pursuing. To say that, you know, we have 200 plus vacancies, those vacancies may not support what our strategy moving forward looks like. They may be from our 2022 programming, and you know, we might have a quarter of those in our maintenance
But
staff.
only 131, not
Okay.
200 something.
Okay, I thought that was closer, but yeah, I just got to say that we want to take a smart approach. We've gone out to the community and heard from the community, and you know, to go out and do batch hiring for strictly maintenance, maybe we can take advantage of innovative contracting and innovative approaches to delivery that's more consistent with industry. You know, what's been done prior to, you know, me being here and this administration is where it is. We want to move Atlanta forward, and I just want to give you the confidence to know that that's the direction we're going. So I know we go back to the budget concern, but I'm looking forward to working with everyone on that.
Thanks again.
Thank you. We'll turn to Councilmember Waits, after which we'll turn to aviation. We're going to start losing some members of the body. I want to make sure we get to our legislative items before we lose quorum. Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question for you. How many positions do you currently have open in your department?
So on the books, we have 85 positions that are considered vacancies. But that does not mean that they are vacancies that this Atlanta DOT 2.0 signed up for. They were positions and roles that were residual from 2022.
All right. And lastly, I noticed a trend throughout City Hall where there's an effort to hire in the upper level positions, generally exceeding $100,000. But for the lower level positions, I guess entry level, I don't necessarily see that. Is there an incentive or some type of effort to hire from within the City of Atlanta to fill some of these roles?
Oh, absolutely. So we've had a number of vacancies pop up, and we are open and welcoming, welcome open arms for anyone who's interested in participating and being a part of our great organization. So absolutely.
And finally, thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we're behind. I'm not sure what your policies are in terms of hiring individuals who require second chance opportunities, but I do know that there were several job fairs that were held recently, and perhaps that there are some positions that may suit that population given the concerns with sensitivity and security. Lastly, I know that previously you mentioned that there were some positions in maintenance that remained unfilled. Was there any effort to recruit or to address that?
Yeah, we're not having as tough a time finding folks for some of our labor and maintenance roles. However, we are actively pursuing. But I like the idea of second chance and other opportunities, especially that pipeline from some of the community colleges and from the community. So
I'd like to work with you on that. I've been working with the workforce development in terms of individuals who are experiencing those challenges. And I'd like to discuss pay as well to ensure that the positions will be meaningful for those individuals. But it's my understanding you have 5 to 6 maintenance positions that are not filled. Okay. So what efforts?
And mind you, the turnover rate in our maintenance area is the highest of any office. So that can fluctuate over time. But part of our strategy moving forward in terms of our capital versus our general fund and our maintenance fund will influence the numbers and the need in our maintenance group. So that's an ever evolving number.
So given that challenge, is there an effort to increase the compensation so that we're able to recruit a better quality
Absolutely,
candidate?
it's something we've been focused on.
I'd like to work with you on that as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, are you good? You have a question? Gotcha. Okay, if you can make it quick, that'd be great. Thank you.
I know we're trying to speed it up, but I know the people, they're watching this station, they want to hear some of these questions, particularly when she was talking about the jobs, because some popped up in my head. And I think with those 6 positions, the departments in our city that I'm getting the most calls about getting into the departments, transferring into the departments are transportation, watershed, and aviation. And so when you say you have 6 labor positions, you could legit send out an email interdepartmental-wise, and you'll get those filled in the city. Is there a plan, or is there a, Watershed is now doing a plan with Atlanta Technical College. I'm super excited about that plan. We passed it in committee yesterday. It'll be going to full council for a vote. When we have 6 labor positions, and I know if I was to, even if I said, they're watching right now, I'm getting text messages right now from people saying, hey, I'm looking for jobs online, and they had an issue with finding the jobs for transportation. I know we can fill those 6 positions today in Public Works. If you go over to the Public Works department today, you'll get 6 people. How can they get trained for that labor position? Or is there a process to bring folks from different departments to that labor position?
Yeah, for the sake of time, I'm going to have our Deputy Commissioner Smith of our Transportation Infrastructure Management Group speak directly to this issue offline, if that's okay. But it's not hard. It's not hard. I'd love to piggyback on Public Works and Watersheds programming. And those 6 positions aren't just laborer positions. They are within our maintenance group, but they're not all.
And I appreciate you, and thank you, Chair. I appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Aviation.
Have a great holiday.
And Mr. Bayadari, per an informal policy, 15 minutes on the presentation so we get to Q&A.
Mr. Chairman, City Council Member, good morning. B.B. Odori, I want to start by wishing all of you happy holidays. And I also want to recognize and say thanks to the aviation team. Our stakeholders are preparing for this holiday travel period. We saw what we're looking at is a tsunami coming at us. Starting December 22nd through January the 2nd, we expect to move people into, out of, or through the airport, approximately 3.3 million passengers. Our busiest day if you will be traveling is December 22nd and 23rd, and December 28th, 29th. So mark those days. Those are going to be extremely heavy travel days for us. Over 300,000 passengers coming through the airport on each of those days. So this is my third quarter presentation to this body, and again, I want to thank this body for your continued support. Just want to go back a little bit in history. This airport, this racetrack was purchased in 1925, and in 2025 we'll be celebrating 100 years of this airport. And if you look where we came from, a racetrack to be the world's, for the last 23 years, the world's busiest and most efficient airport. It's a testament to the leadership of the city, to the legislative body, and to the men and women and the visionary designer who saw a future for the city through this airport. And so there is where we are right now in 2023, known as the world's busiest and most efficient airport, moving a lot of people through our system. Let's talk about employees. Currently, the Department of Aviation have an authorized strength of 898 position, of which 241 is vacant. As of yesterday, we are down to 198 vacancies, and most of those vacancies are in our highly skilled function areas such as engineers, planners, architects, and HVAC technicians and electricians. We have a plan in place. We have just graduated. Mayor Dickens was out there last week to graduate our first cohort of apprentice. And so we're taking things into our own hand by training our existing force and addition to the workforce for those skill set that are in short or highly demanded by the private sector. So we do have an entire plan in place working with our HR department, the commissioner of HR, and the HR director of the airport to put together a recruitment plan to recruit for some of these highly skilled positions, and that's an ongoing challenge for us as we move forward. In addition to the vacancies that we have is because we have so many federal compliance, regulatory compliance requirement, we're using a combination of extra help and contract resource to fulfill those functions. For example, yesterday I just signed a contract with 3 small landscapers to do those work outside the fence in our external properties, and using the Department of Aviation staff for the internal inside the fence in the secured area. We are highly engaged in the community. As many of you know, we spend a lot of time in the community. One thing I'm very proud of is the Mandela Washington Fellowship that we host every year. I had an opportunity to meet some of these past graduates from this fellowship program over this year, and they're doing extremely well, very appreciative of this year. In August, we hosted our first Skype outreach program for concession phase 3. That went very well. We had several hundred people that attended that, and that process have gone through the solicitation legislative cycle, and we are in contract negotiation with the winning proponent of phase 3 of our phase 2 of our concession. Phase 3 will be coming out in January. One thing we are proud of is the annual Mayor on the 5th Runway 5K. We exceeded all our goals that we set. We set a goal of 200 registered runners. We exceeded that. And a goal of raising $250,000 for the Mayor Youth Scholarship. And as you can see, we exceed all of those metrics that we set for this particular event. As a matter of fact, we already started planning for the 2024 event. It takes us a long time because it's just not closing a runway. It's federal requirement. We have to do certain things and be in compliance with certain security and safety functions before we could do this race on the 5th runway. It's a very, very successful race. Purpose. Let's talk about a little bit about our metrics. If you, as you look at the slide here, you can see the first 3 quarters of this year, we have increased the number of people coming through our airport by approximately 11%. Nearly 9 million passengers more this year than we did last year, and also our flight operations. Everything is trending in the right direction except the number of guns that are seized at the security checkpoint. We do have a very robust outreach program, both on our social media and our messaging with the various media outlet. Even for this holiday, the press release we just sent out, one of the things we're urging folks to empty your carry-on luggage totally and then repack to make sure that you don't have any prohibited items in your carry-on luggage. So it's trending, everything is trending in the right direction. And looking at our forecast for the rest of the year, we expect we'll break 100 million passenger. As a matter of fact, that's 11.5% increase over 2022 at 104 million passengers this year. So everything is trending. If you look at our TNC operation and our taxi operation, they're all trending in the right direction. Each of those in double digit, except our flight operations, which is about 7%. As you all know, one of the most complicated projects that we have undertaken a couple of years ago is the extension of our plane train tunnel. At the completion of this tunnel, we will increase the headway efficiency from 120 seconds to about 98 seconds, and we'll go from 12 4-car trains to 15 4-car trains, so we carry a whole lot more people. And that's it in anticipation of our forecast growth. This has been a very complex project. For those of you who are not aware, Stone Mountain, that rock formation is all the way over the airport. And we're 50 feet underground, and we had to use a lot of dynamite, thousands of sticks of dynamite, to break that rock up over a number of months to get this tunnel completed. So the tunnel is completed. We're now putting in the track, This is the shaft that we had to build to get into that tunnel to excavate. This is a 50 feet deep shaft. Secretary Buttigieg, when he came here, we hoist him on a crane and drop him 50 feet. He said he used all mode of transportation except being lifted in a cage by a crane to be dropped 50 feet down.
And then when it's finished, you just fill it back up? What are you going to do with the shaft?
Oh, that shaft, that's a permanent. That's
Okay.
going to be an air shaft, a ventilation shaft for us. So, those of you who have traveled in the last several weeks, you have seen that Concourse T Center Point, we have opened up that. We add new escalator, elevator to help us with our circulation, vertical circulation constraint that we had at that particular location, and also to meet our ADA requirement. And I'm proud to say that tomorrow morning at 0500 hours or 5 a.m. for those of you that are non-military, doesn't deal in 24-hour clock. At 5 a.m. tomorrow, we'll be opening our main security checkpoint 4 months ahead of schedule. And so we'll have the entire checkpoint just in time for the holiday rush. Big project underway. I spoke extensively to this body about is our Concourse D widening. This is going to be the best concourse when we're finished with it. And so if you're going to be flying out of Hartsfield, I will urge you in 2029 to make sure you fly out of this concourse. We expect the completion of this here. As a matter of fact, what we're doing is we are not constructing on site. We're doing modular construction off-site, and then we'll truck each module into Concourse D and set it in place. The modular yard is complete, and if you look out there, you will see the first steel erection already started. I think tomorrow afternoon, the mayor is coming out there. We will have a press conference on the steel that is going out there. So we briefed our stakeholder, our airline stakeholder, who is paying 50% for this project, and they were surprised of how far ahead we are in our schedule and how well this project is going. Another project that you have read a lot about in the media is about our South Economy lot closing. We took 3,000 spaces. We got to prepare this airport for the future for the next 20 or 40 years. And we're building, and if you come to the south area, you will already see the construction is well underway. We will build a parking deck with 7,000 parking spots. So we're nearly doubling the amount of parking, preparing the airport for the future. And this will be all close-in, walkable parking that will take you right into the terminal via elevated walkway. Cargo doesn't make the airport a whole lot of money, but it has a huge economic impact to our region in terms of warehouse and jobs. Okay. We are in the process of completing enabling work, and we're in contract negotiation to nearly double our cargo capacity here at the airport, because the vision for us is we want to bring more cargo into the region as the port is expanding. Last week, myself, the GDOT commissioner and the CEO for the port were having a conversation with Salman and with Kali over at MARTA about this regional solution to improving transportation and increasing cargo growth here, especially coming from the port. So this is futuristic is what we're doing. It will have a significant economic impact to our entire region. You hear a lot about the airport and the airport DBE program. This is just the construction element of it. We have 3 elements towards our DBE program. ACDB is pertained to concession and then service contract. But here, for the last 8 years, when we started the 2015 master plan, we have paid out $3.5 billion in construction invoices, of which 2.7 were eligible for DBE participation. And of that, we have paid invoice over $860 million. That's $100 million a year in DBE invoices that were paid to our small business. Over 33 small businesses participate in this program. Opportunities in the next 36 months, we are looking at 180 projects that we will have on the book. Most of it is renewal and replacement. We have to take care of an aging facility to make sure that our facility is in top shape, and then capacity increase and customer service, a number of those projects. And I could go into detail on this here. opportunities for concession. As I said, in January, we will have a solicitation package coming out, 4 packages coming out. We're anticipating to get all of this in place by 2025. And then I have a phase 3B that we're working on that will bring in small business as prime concessionaires in the airport. Mayor Dickens and I spoke about it when he was chair. Chair Faruqi and I spoke about it, and you, the council member, has spoken about it, and we hear you loud and clear. And we're working towards this solution here. So, you know, in the aviation department, we don't only look what's going on today, but we always have to stay ahead of the game. We always look into the future. So right now I commissioned a revalidation of our master plan. Dr. Tom Nasaki, who's here, is responsible for that, and that's well underway. I just want to give this body a snapshot what is facing the city and your airport in the next decade, in the next 10 years. In the next 10 years, and this is very conservative number, this airport will move 1 billion passengers in the next 10 years through its system. So when you look at that, it's 100 million passengers every year, over 275,000 passengers every day, over 10,000 passengers every hour coming through the airport. That's what we're looking at, and that's why when I said our system have to be in tip-top shape, condition, that's the reason why. We will move over 8 million flight operations. That's over 2,000 flight operations a day landing on our pavement. And then our capital program is reflective of what we have to do to support those flight operations and 1 billion passengers coming through the airport. And we do all of this, of course, via our vision and mission statement and a set of core values that we live by each day. And Mr. Chair, if you'll allow me, and for a couple extra minutes, I want to talk about homeless at the airport. There's been a lot of discussion a lot of discussion centered around homelessness at the airport. I just want to give this body some of the initiative that we have underway, that we have started over the last 7 or 8 years or so. In 2015, we started a task force that included MARTA Police, Airport Law Division, Hope Atlanta, and of course the airport itself, to look at this problem and try to develop solution to people coming into the airport and harassing and soliciting and panhandling in the airport. How do we minimize this? We just didn't want to take people, arrest them, and take them to jail or put them in a van and bring them back and throw them out in the seat. We wanted to be compassionate about it, and we wanted to get to the bottom of why someone is homeless and try to get them the appropriate help. So that's been an active program at the airport since 2015. In addition to that, about 2.5 years ago, I talked to my peers in the industry, and we poll airports that have a similar problem. Most airports that have a similar problem have public transportation that comes into the airport, the domestic terminal. So we're all facing the same problem. What we wanted to do was, what is the best practice? And we do have a monthly call. The monthly call was yesterday, and we're talking about this problem and learning from each other what the best practice is. So that's underway, and that's an ongoing thing for us. And then the federal government normally give grants to do study. And in 2021, we submitted a problem statement to the federal government. I happened to be on the board to select problem statement for future study, and this was one that was close to my heart, that I was able to convince the other board member to support in studying this problem. So we authorized over $400,000 to study this problem, and they came back, the study this problem came back with some recommendation and some of the issuing example, affordable housing, income equality, the appealing nature of an airport where you could have amenities, safety and security. But they also recommend to airport to handle the situation in a humane manner to ensure the safety and prevent intended harm to the homeless population. We also brought in Georgia State University to help us to look at, is there something else we could do that we're missing? And they came up with the same finding, except they said we have to be very careful to not violate any FAA requirement as it pertains to the expenditure of airport funds. And there's a lot of highly complex regulatory environment out there that we have to address. We're using to address the city. So it is not something that I was not aware of the FAA rules and regulation, and so I want to make sure that we are in full compliance. And then we have a contract with Hope Atlanta. That contract was signed in 2021. It's a 3-year contract that will expire in January 2022. And to date, we will expend a total of about $870,000 in this program to help us with the homeless nature. In addition to that, we have an RFP that is going through the evaluation process right now, and we have increased the expenditure of this RFP, a 5-year contract worth $2.5 million to help us with homeless mitigation at the airport. So as you can see, there's a number of things we are doing at the airport. We'll continue to work with the mayor's office, with our stakeholders, and of course, our legislative body, the law department, and all other stakeholders to continue to try to find an amenable solution to this problem here. We're looking at some other options. Last week, I've instructed my team to look at Motel 6 approached us and said we could rent you rooms for X dollars to handle this population, a place where we could transport safely, give them secure housing to keep them out of the cold. So there's a number of things we are doing on this front here. And Mr. Chair, to that end, that concludes my presentation and a quick update on our homeless situation at the airport.
Thank you, Mr. Bayadari, for the presentation and for you and your staff's time today. Any questions from the committee? Ms. Overstreet.
I definitely wanted to take this opportunity to say happy holidays.
Thank you.
But I did have one question for sure. Well, let me make a comment before I give my question. I know that you look at the trends for the guns as being a negative thing. It's negative in the fact that, people should definitely know at this point not to bring guns to the airport. Like, everyone should know that. And Lord knows you all have done huge campaigns against it. But I feel that we have the best technology, and I don't think that other airports are catching it like we are. It's very concerning in that aspect for me, because I think that we're doing a yeoman's job of making sure that no one's coming through our security with firearms. And I'm wondering if other airports aren't. Surely Atlanta is not the only area where people are forgetting that they packed a firearm. So I'm concerned about the other airports and what's happening on the airplane. That's how I look at the stats, that we're just above and beyond in detecting.
Thank you for that comment, Councilmember Overstreet. Fortunately, the TSA or the Federal Air Marshal have not reported any case over the many years of someone with a firearm on an aircraft.
Right.
However, we have had several cases where someone came to the airport originating from another airport with a firearm in their check bag or on them. So those were very, very few. I think in Atlanta we only know of 2 cases. So the federal government is not reporting that, but what we know is we have received no report of someone with a firearm in an aircraft. And you're right, I must give compliment to our TSA workforce, the Herculean job they do, and with the new technology that we have been implementing and we have been constructing at the security checkpoint. It is giving us the capability to more effectively and efficiently discover a prohibited item in someone's carry-on bag. So that's why I'm so proud of that investment to make our airport that much more safer and make the aviation transportation system even safer.
Me too. I'm very proud of that work, for sure. Another One of the questions that I have is, on one of the slides, it was a to be determined as to what the budget is expected to be, and I think that's where the parking is, what slide was that? Slide 16. You know, I'm not used to seeing that from you all. So if you can give me just a ballpark, or because I know it's past the conceptual.
So we have a set budget for it, but because this is a CMR, all of the work have not been purchased as yet to get that final tally. But we have a set budget, a ceiling not to exceed that was passed by
What's
this
a CMR?
legislative body. Right.
What is a CMR?
Yeah, what is that?
Construction manager at risk, someone who take on the risk. They buy the project, and on our behalf, they take on the risk to deliver this project to us. So I'll get you the number. The number is set.
Okay, good. I want to know that. I'm excited about this. I just hate that we're talking about 2026 because it just looks like it's going to be amazing. Also,
So just for your information, it's December 2026 to deliver this project. I have given my team guidance that I want the project delivered in summer of 2026. So Frank is working really hard, and Tom, to get it delivered by summer, just in time for FIFA.
okay, that's where I was going with that. Oh my goodness, that would be huge if we can get that done before FIFA comes. World Cup here. We need all of that parking plus some, like seriously. So I'm hoping that timeline will change a little bit, for sure, just for that reason, if nothing else.
I told him hope is not an option.
Okay, that's right. I understand. Well, that's pretty much all that I have. So, Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Biodori, for coming in today. I appreciate the service that you're doing over at the airport. The phrase that I learned from you a year ago is still going. An airport without shovels is a dying airport. When we go to our airport, we see shovels in it. So our airport is thriving and growing. I appreciate you for continuing that up. The page that I'm most concerned about, or I'm happy about, different ways, would be page 4, organizational strength. And I wanted to do the numbers for it. So when you say we have 898 total positions with 657 being filled, that means we have 26% of our positions open. And I'm still talking to people, and they want 3 departments. And so we have folks who can pass that 10-year background check who work for the city of Atlanta. They've already interviewed. They've already been with us. Do you have an effort, or do you have a strategy to fill the 241 positions?
Of course, Councilmember, you know we are all about strategy, right? So we do have, working with our HR department, we have an entire strategy around recruitment. And as I think all of the city council members, we have informed you every time we do have an outreach for a recruitment outreach. Just, I think 3 weeks ago, we had another one. So we are not only doing it at the airport, but now we are reaching into the community. Our strategy resides around the community, but the issue that we are having is because of the skill nature. When you have Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport attached to your resume, my peers in the industry are telling me that I'm coming after. They're not bashful about it. I'm coming after your team. I'm coming after your leadership. I'm coming after your maintenance worker, because we know that they're highly skilled and they're capable, and they could run circle around us. So and that's one of the reasons 2 years ago with this body approval, we have done so much work along with the HR Commissioner and the support from Mayor Dickens. We have done so much work around compensation to make sure that we retain these skill sets here at this airport.
And that amazing job. We don't want to hold anybody back who want to go and make more money, right? So the strategy I'm saying is we have a public works department in the city of Atlanta. I got folks that have been working on the back of the trash truck for 2 years now, 2 and 3 years. They took that job because that's the entry-level job into the city of Atlanta. They're applying for these jobs in aviation. They're applying in transportation, and they aren't getting calls. And so I'm wondering, is there a strategy? Because we know we got a community, citizens in the city of Atlanta, but we have people who've already been vetted. They've already been working with the city of Atlanta for a while. Or can you work on a strategy to have a job fair for us, the folks who work for the city, so we can fill these 241 jobs? Because these are high-paying positions. We know that the airport, city of Atlanta airport is, like you said, if you get a job at the airport, your resume just looks better. And so I just want our folks who've been working for the city, who've been applying for these positions, to fill them.
So we do have a strategy, and if you're in a job with Public Works or ATL, DOT, and I got to be careful not to poach from other department, because then I'm going to hurt those departments, but where there are opportunity for upward mobility, we do give those opportunities. And if someone apply for a job because maybe I've been doing this and I need a change, and they're qualified for a job over here, normally we will hire them. We'll hire them as soon as they pass the background check.
And I'll say, similar to when you say other airports are calling to get our good maintenance workers. Today I talked to a good parts maintenance worker with the city of Atlanta. He would love that part maintenance. He would love that maintenance job at the airport. And so when we do lose them, we already have a body. I'll fast forward past that. The next questions I had was, it was surrounding around the houselessness issue. I know we are working federally on it, but Atlanta, we're gonna have to lead the way on this. Similar to showing them the MBE program, the America, showing them how they can work better with people. And so we may have to be the ones that innovate what the houselessness situation looks like at our airport. Like, I love that MARTA goes into the airport, right? We don't want to ever call that an issue or saying, hey, we have an issue with people coming, because the airport is the safest space in the world to some people at 11 p.m. at night. And as a person I understand that as a person who's traveled, and I understand it fully firsthand about airports being safe for people to, safe spaces for people to be at night. So I would like us to lead. And lastly, as we continue to lead, I would like for us to look at ways in which we can lead on the small business front. I know past 2 weeks, this body, we've been working with the airport because we saw some multi-million-dollar companies from other cities, other states come in and partner and try to get stuff done. Are we working on ways to help small businesses get the bonding and get the stuff that they need so they don't have to go and find these billion-dollar companies out of state?
So that's one thing we will be partnering with the CPO's office. My team is looking at all of that with the law department to get advice to make sure that we're not discriminating against any particular group. But as it pertains to bonding and insurance and stuff like that, we want to bring all the resources together, a one-stop shop in partnership with OCC and the CPO's office, Department of Aviation and the Mayor's office, and bring all of it to one-stop stopping to help small businesses move in the right direction to be able to get those necessary financing to be their own prime.
No, I appreciate you, but lastly, I'll go back to where I started, the staffing. I know in 3 months, blessed that I'll still be on transportation. So I'll take this I'll take this on my office, and I just want to see the 241 number go down.
So as of yesterday, it's 198. So it's already went down. So we got an entire suite, and it's going to go further down by next year.
But I also see the new hires and departures, right? So that's a net gain of 18.
Yeah.
The numbers, you might say 51 new people hired, but really we had 31 people
and 33
fired,
people,
and 2 people retired. So it's actually a net gain of 18.
Yep.
But I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation today. So there was a statement made that the airport has an outstanding water bill with the city of Atlanta. Is there any validity to that claim?
Council member, we keep metrics like no one else. And as it comes to our invoice, once that invoice is certified that it's an accurate invoice, we have a net 30 days payment for all our invoice. My CFO and the entire finance team look at every invoice every week. Those invoices are sent to the different department division heads to review. I am not aware of any water bill that is outstanding net 30 days, nor did we receive any delinquent report from the Watershed Management Division of an outstanding water bill. And I was kind of surprised to hear that, but I already asked my team to look into it to make sure that we don't have a water, because for me, that's very troubling when someone says that you have a $2 million outstanding bill. I do not like. That's why we put in place Net 30. That's why we are so focused on a weekly review of our invoices, outstanding invoices.
Okay, and thank you so much. And lastly, what efforts are we making? There's been a lot of conversation surrounding smaller companies here in the city of Atlanta are having to compete and bid against individuals who are outside of the state of Georgia. And I'm clear that you all have certain federal guidelines that you must follow. But I wanted to know what incentives we're creating so that our small business owners are not having to compete with individuals who are in Michigan and other areas.
So in the last, since this was brought up and it was raised in council, my team and I, we've been engaging with our law department to make sure that we are following those very strict guidelines because there's a lot of eyes looking at the airport. I want to make sure that we're in full compliance with the federal guidelines that are on the books right now, that we are not violating those guidelines as it pertains to small businesses, not only locally but also regionally for us.
Okay, and terrific. And thank you. Final question, Mr. Chairman. For the SBE program for 2024, will there be some strategic efforts made to increase opportunities for those? Because I know that some of the guidelines changed in terms of how you designate which ones receive the market shelter or some type of program that you referenced. So will there be any additional incentives or programs available to assist small business owners?
So we just on board assistant general manager whose job would be for that. And we have been looking at that over the many years to make sure, because each functionality of an SBE program have different threshold. And so working with the law department, working internally and having someone who will be focused on this right now, we're looking at what do we need to add or delete from our existing program to make sure that we're more focused on giving opportunity to small businesses out here. Not only that, but outreach and training will come along with that.
And what triggers the program? I think it was $8 million is what you said.
Well, it depends. It depends on the classification of a small business. For example, transportation, I think that was $19 million threshold. So each classification, whether it's transportation or whether it's some other classification function, they all have different threshold to classify them as small business.
Is there an effort or willingness to break up some of these contracts to ensure that the smaller vendors here within the metropolitan area are able to compete successfully against some of the larger companies such as ABM?
Absolutely. So one of those is the term is going to be ATL Connect. That's, as you know, terminal to terminal. We're looking at that. In 2017, as I told everybody, the reason I moved that particular scope of service out from a larger contract was to do the exact same thing, is to give opportunity to a small business. The costs have gone up, and one of the things we failed, and take full responsibility, is look at it and said, okay, what cost can we de-scope out of this contract to keep it as a small business? And we have a path forward on that.
And my last thought regarding the homeless dynamic, and certainly compassion is important and in order. Have we reached out to our other partners, such as Fulton County and the state of Georgia, to seek some assistance given the large numbers? The gentleman that spoke before us on yesterday indicated that in the evenings there are some numbers such as 200 to 300 individuals who are unsheltered and are homeless who are spending time in the airport. And so my thought is that for the city of Atlanta to take that burden alone is somewhat unfair to our taxpayers. And so what regional efforts or HUD, who can we reach out to get some additional assistance given the volume of people who are coming? In fact, I'm being told that they're being put on buses and airplanes and sent to the city of Atlanta.
So Hope Atlanta is our main contract out there that help us with reaching out to the other jurisdiction and look at this homeless problem holistically. But Councilmember, I will also tell you that I get a daily report on our daily metrics at the airport. And over the last many months, we have seen, I've never seen a figure 200. What we're seeing is maybe a dozen, a couple of dozens, especially in the cold month. But when it's warm out there, we're probably getting 5, 7, 12 at night. And the reason for that is because most of them are triage before they get to the airport, and that's why those numbers are small. Before we had implemented a triage method with MARTA to make sure that we identify and we find decent accommodation for these individuals. You're right. I remember when I came back to Atlanta, we were seeing hundreds of people sleeping all over the place at night.
Okay. And lastly, given the revenue sources that the airport generates, it's my hope that these individuals and families are being treated with dignity and compassion. Are there resources in terms of food to assist them until we're able to transition them to where they need to go, or someone is able to provide support? So, for example, if someone shows up and they're simply hungry and cold, what is the plan?
So right now, I put someone in place, an assistant general manager who is my ADA Title VI coordinator, and he's looking at this entire homeless 360 support that we could add, not only to assist with assistant, but MARTA token if they want to leave the airport to get back somewhere, a shelter that we're looking at to invest in to get them to a warm place that is safe and secured overnight. Food if we have to, if it doesn't violate the regulatory requirement. So we're looking at this program in a holistic manner.
And can we circulate that information throughout the airport so that all the vendors are aware when they see this, that they can get the phone number or get the resource to the individual? Because the other challenge is that I think that many people don't know that there's a program in place to address this. In fact, I have seen multiple times individuals who are unsheltered who are simply posted in there, and I don't know what to say to them.
Yeah, so the airport have a restricted operation hour from 11:30 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. where you must show that you have business at the airport, either your ticket passenger, employee, and so on and so forth to do business. If you can't demonstrate that you have a business at the airport, you'll be removed from the airport in a humane way, right? So
who picks them up? Is this an officer?
APD.
Okay, where do they take them?
They will take them to a shelter. There's one available, or if there is not a shelter available, we'll keep them in a warm place because we don't want to put these people in a van and bring them back out.
Okay, you're confident that we're keeping them warm and safe?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
You're right. Well, Mr. Hillis, and then we'll turn to the ARC report from Councilmember Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. This came to my attention, number one, because of one of the pieces of legislation awards a certain contractor a supplement of a joint task order, item number 15. But they also appear to be through joint ventures that they are awarded a number of projects within your presentation. And I know they're a frequent contractor at the airport, but I just wanted to ask, in your experience at the airport as the manager, and I know we have the CPO here, if he has any way in here, but Bryson Constructors, they were awarded a project in District 9 a few years ago under the previous administration in 2019, Fire Station 22, at a cost of $9.8 million, and came back pretty quickly and magically asked for a $3 million adjustment. Those negotiations went on for a length of time. We offered to meet them almost 60%, 2/3 of what they were asking for. Could never come with agreement. They also wanted additional escalation clauses in the contract so they can charge us even more as they progress with this project. What has your experience been with Bryson Constructors at the airport and the projects that they were awarded? And if the CPO has any weigh in as well about that contractor's performance.
So when the city was going through that negotiation, we were also going through a negotiation with Bryson for a facility, our maintenance facility that they won the award on, right? And we went through the negotiation. What we do at the airport, what I ask the team to ensure we do first and foremost is good upfront staff work, i.e. your planning and your design, detailed planning, so that when you get into design, you eliminate most of the unknowns out there. So there is not a big issue with change orders. You know, when you work at the airport, you will always find unforeseen condition, and so we do have some change order, but that upfront planning was really important to us. The second thing is your schedule. Defining your schedule, defining your critical path, defining each task on the critical path that has no slack time, so you could start that task late and still finish on time. You have to start the task when it's, and so defining all of that with a end date certain and with liquidated damage, all encompassed for a good project delivery, and that's what we're doing. And Bryson is we're getting ready to open that facility on schedule as designed, as we designed and planned for that facility. So we have had overall good delivery with using Bryson because of the program or the project management and the construction management oversight that we place on each of our contractors.
Mr. CPO, did you have any additional weigh in? I don't know if you maintain a performance report for our contractors we award projects to or whatnot, but if you could speak to that.
Jadeep Majumdar, Chief Procurement Officer for City of Atlanta. We are looking at every supply very closely. It has been a history where that kind of incidents have happened, and it has happened far too many times. But now we are also looking at the scope of work. We're having discussions with the supplier up front, planning in such a way that we minimize the change orders. We are also going to change the contract to limit the number of task orders and change orders that will be permissible to the suppliers, so that we are never challenged with those kind of situations. We are not challenged with $1 million contract becomes a $20 million contract, diluting the value of the contract. Plus, we also are looking at all the suppliers that are not doing well versus suppliers that are doing well. And we want to make sure that the suppliers understand what our expectations are if they want to remain doing business with City of Atlanta.
But do you maintain a performance report within the Department of Procurement for our city
We
awarded
are in the process of putting together an enterprise supply management program that will have the supply performance piece included for the enterprise, not individually. All the individual numbers will roll up to the enterprise level.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jaideep, and thank you, Mr. Baydari, for your presentation.
Thank you, Councilmember, and again, happy holidays to all of you.
Likewise. Mr. Westmoreland, ARC update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, colleagues. Four quick updates from the ARC recently. The first is the board at our November 8th meeting unanimously elected Mayor Andre Dickens to serve as the chair of the Atlanta Regional Commission. His 2-year term will begin on January 1st, 2024, and he will chair his first meeting on January 10th. He is the first mayor, any mayor, including the mayor of the city, to serve as chair of the board. He will succeed Carrie Armstrong, who has chaired the body for the last 10 years. Yesterday, news broke that back on December 6th, the state of Georgia, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Atlanta Regional Commission, and a number of other organizations announced an agreement that will hopefully bring an end to a long-running legal dispute between us and the state of Alabama regarding the use of Lake Lanier. I will not go into all the details now, but if you want to later, happy to do that. There was a lawsuit with the state of Florida that the United States Supreme Court ruled in our favor. We had been in litigation with the state of Alabama over Lake Lanier and Lake Allatoona. Lake Lanier will hopefully be resolved now, and the ARC has been involved in all of those conversations over the last 4 or 5 years. Later at this meeting, you all will take up 23R 4342, and I want to mention it now because I have to leave at 12:15, but it will allocate $1 million to the Atlanta Regional Commission to support e-bicycle initiatives inside the city of Atlanta. It comes on the heels of 22R 4801, which council passed earlier this year, that established a study group made up of the chairman of this body, the ATL-DOT commissioner, folks from the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resiliency, Propel ATL, the Partnership for Southern Equity, the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta, to help us model a program similar to what we've seen in Denver and Boston and other cities around the country in providing e-bicycle rebates to residents. And I mention it here because ARC will be running the program on behalf of the city of Atlanta and hopes that our program will spur DeKalb and Fulton and Cobb and Gwinnett and Clayton and Forsyth and Henry and Douglas to pursue similar programs. So this is a cool way that the city is leading on a regional issue, just as Mayor Dickens is taking the helm of that body. And then finally, a number of us were at the State of the Region breakfast on October 27th. I emailed you all this morning a written version of all this, and it includes several hyperlinks. One of them is to the annual ATL Speaks survey that has a considerable amount of data on survey results related to crime and the economy and housing and transit, both inside the city and in all of the other 11 member counties. And then finally at that breakfast, there were a number of awards given out. I wanted to highlight two because one was in Council District 3, the 1200 Studios project that took 20 vacant apartment units and turned them into 40 affordable micro units, 10 of which have been set aside for folks experiencing homelessness, won an award, as did Pittsburgh Yards in Council District 12, was labeled a great place, which Councilmember Lewis can attest to. So cool to see the Regional Commission highlighting some of the great work happening in our respective districts. So happy to answer any questions you have, and there is a written version of this with relevant hyperlinks in your inboxes, and I'll make sure we post that as well.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Westmoreland, for the update. I was excited to see the Water Wars peace agreement with Alabama yesterday. When I was a new law associate in 2004, I think I did some work on that case, as did hundreds of other lawyers over the last 20, 30 years. So it's a good day for the state. All right, let's legislate. Oh, Councilmember Lewis, sorry.
Thank you, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, for your service to the ARC. I remember when you, I've been able to learn so much about it since that election when you ran on council for it. And so to now see our mayor as the leader of the ARC, I feel even more encouraged as an Atlantan that we're going to see some stuff coming in. And so thank you for your report, and I'm excited to see what we do the next 2 years with our leader as the leader of the ARC and with you on the ARC board.
As they say, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Let's do what people elected us to do and do some legislation. Section H, ordinances for second reading. Or do we have a first read? Oh, we have one first read. Sorry.
Section G, ordinance for first reading. Item number 1, 23-01712. An ordinance by Transportation Committee amending the fiscal year 2024 airport renewal and extension fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations an amount of $27,325,585.00 to provide funding for various projects at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes. Sections to our regular agenda, Section H, ordinance for second reading. Item number 2, 23-01688. An ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis requesting the mayor as designated to place parking restrictions on Ellsworth Industrial Boulevard Northwest from the public streets northern terminus to approximately the shared property line between 1778 and 1788 Ellsworth Industrial Boulevard Northwest, prohibiting parking on both the northbound and southbound side of the street, to install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited area, and to restripe all markings and place appropriate signage along Ellsworth Industrial Boulevard Northwest from its northern terminus to Chattahoochee Avenue Northwest to waive certain requirements of City Code Section 150-92 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Any objection from ATL DOT? Barring none, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 3, 23-01690, an ordinance by council members Dustin Hillis and Byron D. Amos, authorizing the chief financial officer to accept proceeds from the Atlantic Station Tax Allocation District Fund on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation and to anticipate and appropriate the Atlantic Station Tax Allocation District Fund proceeds an amount of $3,950,000.00 into the Atlanta Department of Transportation Howell Mills 14th Street Marietta Street Transformation Project account for the Howell Mill Complete Street Project and for other purposes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. This item is a due referral and will be referred to today's FEC meeting. This takes us to Section I, Resolutions. Item number 423R 4642, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston requesting the mayor as designee to make the intersection of Inglewood Avenue Southeast and Grant Street Southeast an always stop-control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
I'll move to approve. Is there a second by Overstreet? Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 5, 23R 4643, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Venera Avenue Southeast and Fraser Street Southeast, Venera Avenue Southeast and Violet Street Southeast, Cruz Street Southwest, and Haygood Southwest in the Peoplestown neighborhood, always stop-control intersections, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes.
I will move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Chair, item 6 requires an amendment. The amendment changes the caption.
So a motion to bring forward the substitute?
Amendment, excuse me.
The amendment. Okay, I'll move to amend. Motion to amend by Overstreet, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The amendment changes Kipling Drive Southeast to Kipling Street Southeast and Forest Park Southeast to Forest Park Road Southeast, and the caption and all references of the legislation.
Great. I'll move to approve as proposed. Second by Overstreet.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item has been amended.
I'll move to approve as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I sound the caption.
Please do.
Item number 6, 23R 4644, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston as amended by the Transportation Committee, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Henry Thomas Drive Southeast and Thomasville Drive Southeast, Henry Thomas Drive Southeast and Kipling Street Southeast, Thomasville Drive Southeast and Lathrop Street Southeast, Thomasville Drive Southeast and Luther Drive Southeast, Thomasville Drive Southeast and Forest Park Road Southeast, Kipling Street Southeast and Akron Drive Southeast, Issa Drive Southeast and Akron Drive Southeast, Issa Drive Southeast and Phillips Drive Southeast, in the Thomasville Heights neighborhood, always stop-control intersections, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes.
Motion to approve as amended. Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
If you're late to a meeting in the future, you can just say you got stopped at all these stop signs in Thomasville Heights and blame it on Councilmember Winston.
The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Item number 7, 23R 4645, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on People Street Southwest from Oak Street to Howell Place Southwest and for other purposes.
I'll move to approve. Second. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 8, 23R 4646, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to make an always stop control intersection at Oak Street and People Street Southwest, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment removes the third and fourth whereas clauses.
Great. I'll move to amend as stated. Second. Second by Amos. Please open the vote on the motion to amend.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended. Mr. Chair, we need a motion to approve. as
Sorry,
amended.
motion to approve is amended. Apologies.
Second.
Second by Amos, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended. Item number 9, 23R4647, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study on Village Park Lane to determine the need for any safety improvements such as traffic calming devices, reduced speeds, or stop signs, and for other purposes.
Motion approved by Overstreet, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Motion to approve as amended, or did we, that wasn't amended?
That wasn't amended.
Okay, sorry.
This takes us to item number 10. Mr. Chair, this item requires a substitute. The substitute adds language requesting the Department of Watershed Management Commissioner to accept the dedication of associated sewer infrastructure in the Kelso at Peyton subdivision.
Motion to bring forward the substitute.
I have a question. Sorry. I did the Mary.
But Ms. Overstreet.
I actually want to know what the, which one are we on right now?
Number 10. This
My
is,
screen doesn't,
yeah, so this is regarding the Kelso Street that,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my screen jumped to something
Oh, Kelso
different. I
Payne
thought we
said.
were on 10. So I am, right, thank you for that. What is the difference in the original and this substitute? Can someone let me know that?
Councilmember Overstreet, the substitute adds Department of Watershed Management's Commissioner to accept the dedication of sewer infrastructure in the Kelso at Peyton subdivision.
Okay. All right. Did anybody weigh in on this? Any information from ATL DOT?
yeah, let's do this. Let's approve the substitute, and then we'll invite them up.
Okay.
to- yeah.
Move approval.
So I've made the motion, second by Overstreet. Please open the vote
Second.
on the motion to bring forth the substitute.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you.
Great. I'd like to invite Ms. Bromberg to talk to us about this legislation and the precedent it may or may not set for other private streets in the city.
Absolutely. Lenora Bromberg, Deputy Commissioner of Engineering for ATL DOT. And I will do my best to describe the process that I'm familiar with. Typically, the process that we would go through when there's a private street, we would perform an investigation to make sure it's built to city standards before we would accept it. I know that this is a little bit different situation where this private street was built obviously quite some time ago. And there's some question and confusion, I think, about who would have been responsible for it. All the information we have is it is a private street. And so the current street is not built to city standards. So there certainly would be an investment required by the city in order to bring it into compliance if the resolution were to move forward the way that it's currently structured. I'm happy
So-
to answer any other questions you might have on it.
I have a question on that, but just for the sake of process, if Mr. Johnson could sound in the caption, and then I do have a question about it. I'm sure my colleagues do as well.
Item number 10, 23R4648, a resolution by council members Andre L. Boone, Jason Winston, Byron D. Amos, Dustin Hillis, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Antonio Lewis, Michael Julian Bond, and Keisha Shawn Waits, as substituted by Transportation Committee. A resolution requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to accept the dedication of streets and the Commissioner of the Department of Watershed Management to accept the dedication of the associated sewer infrastructure located within the Kelso at Peyton subdivision to provide for enhanced responses from the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department and the Atlanta Police Department to facilitate the needed repairs to the streets and infrastructure and for other purposes.
Great. So my question is this. I sympathize with the individuals who came forward today. My sense is that it's a private street because it was a private development. They may or may not have an HOA that should have been raising money to do these sorts of things over the years. It hasn't done so. They want to come to the city and say, hey, y'all take it over and keep it up to speed. Fine if the city wants to take it on, but I think my concern is I think it's from the pictures, these streets need to be fixed and sidewalks need to be fixed, but they shouldn't be able to jump the line for all the other stuff that we have in the pipeline that all of our residents have been waiting on for a long time. So I'm curious how you prioritize something like this once it becomes property of the city.
Sure, and actually it's a little bit more complicated process than that because we would actually have to take acquisition of the right-of-way itself. I have to take a look at, excuse me, the existing plat to see if it actually has I'll call it a private right-of-way where the parcels and this road corridor are actually parceled out. I haven't had an opportunity to look at the plat for the subdivision that was originally built myself. If that's the case, it's a fairly simple transaction to go through a plat process. If it's not, and in my career, I have seen a lot of private developments like this where the property line actually goes to the middle of the road so that there's shared ownership basically along the whole corridor. So I don't know it quite that. That is a whole process we'd have to go through to take actual acquisition of the property so that we have the land rights to be able to go in and actually do the work. In the meantime, there is an assessment that would need to be done of the existing infrastructure. It is a concrete roadway. It's basically built like a driveway. And then this, as mentioned, there are other utilities within the corridor as well that an assessment of those would have to happen, figure out what the cost is to actually bring them up to city standard, and then figure out how that's going to be funded. My understanding is as of right now, it is not funded, and so that would be a part of that evaluation process. And I don't necessarily have a timeline on that because it depends on the land rights.
Got it. Thank you. Ms. Overstreet.
Yes, so I am one of the co-sponsors on this. I wanted to join Councilmember Boone on this legislation for obvious reasons. We have several streets that mirror District 10 streets, and the population is aging out on certain streets. I mean, some have literally been in their home for 50 years, so, or longer, actually, much longer. I am looking to see how this goes. So I am going to be supportive today because I definitely want to know what precedents we'll be setting and what this process looks like, because I don't think we've done this before that I know of. I think I did ask, you know, where have we done this before, and no one knew that we've done it before. So I'm definitely interested in this process for sure. How many streets is it in this subdivision? There's not a map that I see attached.
It is one long street. You basically come into the neighborhood. There's a bit of a cul-de-sac that several has it off. It makes a hard left, goes up, makes a hard right. And so it's basically one street. Okay. It just happens to have some bends. And I believe there's about 3 cul-de-sac type shapes that I would describe them as along the corridor.
Okay. With a total of how many homes? You don't know that yet, do you? And I'm asking that because Adams Drive is also a street that asks for this particular type of city support, but it's not a private street, it's a city street. And so I've been working with Adams Drive to become organized as maybe an HOA or working with them for a possible overlay of some sort, which is something that we've not done on one of our streets either, except for major corridors like we did for the Campbellton Road. Just trying to give structure and support to the communities that would, you know, that clearly need our help in some way, even if it's just an education type of tool. I'm going to support this legislation so that I'll see where we go with it.
And to answer your question, it's about 30 to 35 homes on the street.
Okay, so that's really not that big, but It is just one street too, so, okay. Well, I think this is the perfect model then to figure out how we can help. And we may have to come up with something, a new way to help, something that we don't know, that we don't have currently. And I'm open to that too. Okay, so move approval.
I'll second that. Mr. Lewis.
I think just to piggyback off some of the stuff that Councilmember Overstreet said, in District 12, we have a lot of development coming up, and we have a lot of code, same type of coming up with private streets. I'm thinking about my Habitat for Homes that's on Brown Mill Road, the Brown Mill Project, and these are private streets currently. And so we also understand that we've helped folks to get into the houses and now want to tax themselves with the, how she said, how'd you tell me what they come up with, the HOH fees, and tax themselves. They actually see that as taxing themselves. And so as we build in the cul-de-sacs in District 12 and we're trying to make it as affordable as possible, folks have never lived in an HOA. I've never paid a HOA, and so I don't know how we build them. But is there an educational component that we can take into these new areas being built, or what would you recommend that we do so that I don't have to have this issue in 10 years?
Sure, absolutely. I think that's something where we can work with the other departments in the development process to have those conversations. In my former experience, that's exactly what we did when a developer came in and had a new development and recommended private streets. It is something that the residents need to be made aware of. Sometimes they move in and have no idea that they're responsible for maintaining streets and sidewalks, and it can be a bit of a shock when you look at the sticker price for that. So I think that's something that we can work with our colleagues on, having that conversation and making sure that there's some dialogue about it.
Okay, I appreciate you. Thank you. I yield, Chair.
A motion to approve by Overstreet, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
As substituted.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Item number 11, 23R4649, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Dobbs Circle Northwest and Peachtree Battle Avenue Northwest a noise self-control intersection and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, the sponsor requested this item be held.
Motion to hold. Is there a second? Second by Waits. Please open the vote on the motion to hold.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. Item number 12, 23R4652, a resolution by Councilmember Howard Shook authorizing the City of Atlanta to authorize a donation of money to provide local matching funds to the City of Sandy Springs for the Path 400 Trail in an amount not to exceed $133,333.33. Authorizing the mayor as needed to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and authorizing the Chief Financial Officer or his designee to make all payments from accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, the sponsor requested this item be filed.
Motion to file. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second. Second by Lewis. Please open the vote on the motion to file.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is filed on committee. Item number 13, 23R4653, a resolution by Councilmember Howard Shook authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed of $400,000.00 to Livable Buckhead pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter in support of the organization's effort and management of public art along the Path 400 project, including the design, development, and fabrication of an artistic gateway to Path 400 off Miami Circle, and to implement of the shelter, the sculpture The Sculpture Public Art Project, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and authorizing the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 1423R 4701, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to exercise the single renewal option for a period of 1 year to renew the memorandum of understanding with United Airlines Incorporated for the uses of certain gates and space at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Aviation, have any comment? It's pretty straightforward, but if you want to comment, you're welcome to.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Smith, Deputy General Manager, Department of Aviation. This just allows us to use 2 of the gates that United Airlines leases from us for common use airlines.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
Mr. Chair, can you repeat the mover and the seconder?
Motion by Faruqi, second by Overstreet.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 1523R 4702, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund for use under 4 noise insulation program miscellaneous properties contract numbers listed herein for services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport in amount not to exceed $2,235,157.0. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Great. Any comment from aviation?
Good afternoon, Tom Nasalki, Assistant General Manager for Planning and Development at the Department of Aviation. We continue implementing noise insulation measures in the communities around the airport. This funding will provide noise insulation at 1 single-family home and 49 multifamily units in Atlanta, Forest Park, and College Park.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 1623R 4703, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the State Road and Tollway Authority on behalf of the Department of Aviation to allow customers to use SRTA Peach Pass system for payment for parking at designated parking facilities at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for an initial term of 5 years with 2 2-year renewal term options, and to authorize the payment of $100,000 to be reimbursed to the State Road and Tollway Authority for the capital startup cost, all funds to be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
This will allow us to utilize the Peach Pass again at our parking facilities. We started this process about 2 years ago and had a brief hiatus with the state regarding our facilities. Currently, we utilize that at the ATL West parking deck, and certainly once we get the new parking facility constructed, we'll be able to utilize it at those. Also, we're in the process of changing our revenue control system so that this again will be utilized at additional facilities.
So these funds are for the State Road and Tollway Authority to install whatever they need to install?
Right, so they'll install their capital equipment. They had previously installed some, so this reimburses them for that installation.
I have to ask, 100,000 is a very comfortable round number. Usually we have specific dollar amounts. Do you have a sense of where that 100K number comes from?
No, it was an additional amount, as you would see in the resolution itself. It referenced that the capital improvement was initially about $300,000, and they've actually reduced it down to $100,000.
Okay.
So that was sort of a negotiated agreement.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Overstreet, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 1723R 4704, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement with BRTU Construction Incorporated for agreement listed herein, sidewalk repairs and replacements on MLK Drive on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for the right-of-way improvements project at 5 specified locations along north and south sides of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive for a term of 1 year with one-year renewal option, an amount not to exceed $2,396,161.0. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Amos, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Chair, we have 3 items coming off held. The first will be on page 8, item number 26, 23R 4342, a resolution by Council members Matt Westmoreland, Amir Faruqi, Jason Dozier, Dustin Hillis, Liliana Bakhtiari, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Andrea L. Boone, Jason Winston, Keisha Shawn Waits, Byron D. Amos, Antonio Lewis, Michael Julian Bond, and Alex Juan, authorizing the city of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $1 million to the Atlanta Regional Commission and Propel ATL pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support electric bike initiatives within the City of Atlanta, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the account listed herein and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, the item need to be substituted. The substitute incorporates the funding amount. Yes, the funding amount.
Okay, I'll move to bring forward the substitute.
Second.
Second by Amos. Please open the vote on the motion to bring forward the substitute.
The vote is open. The motion passes. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you. Mr. Chair, we need to move this item on condition for the CFO and the administration to identify the account string and interval payment structure prior to January 8th full council meeting.
I'll motion to move it forward on that condition. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute on condition. Item number 2723R 4545, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos authorizing the mayor or designee to execute an agreement with Precision 2000 Incorporated for agreement listed herein, Joseph E. Lowry, Complete Streets, and TCC on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for a term of 1 year with 2 one-year renewal options in the amount not to exceed $4,622,909.55. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment attaches the IPRO report.
Motion to amend to attach the IPRO report.
Second.
Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is amended.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Amos, second by Faruqi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended. Item number 2823R 4570, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for project number listed herein, quarry stabilization and wildlife deterrent at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with BRTU Construction Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Aviation, an amount not to exceed $17,902,647.08. All services will be charged to and paid from the account number listed herein and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment attaches the IPRO report.
Motion to amend to attach the IPRO report. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Any commentary from?
Yeah, this
aviation?
project's about enhancing airfield safety. There's a low area between the approach ends of runway 27 left and 27 right, and we call that area the quarry. The quarry is about 12 acres, and it's a wildlife attractant. And as we know, aircraft and wildlife don't mix, and so this project will implement measures to deter wildlife from congregating in the quarry.
Move to approve. Second. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for the year.
Great. And that concludes our meeting today. Thank you to my colleagues for a great year and for a long meeting today, and everyone for attending. Wishing everyone a very happy holiday season and a good start to 2024. We're adjourned.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, for your year. Thank you for your service this year.
Now we can all eat ice cream. Now we can all eat ice cream.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.